Hi everyone, it's Chenso from Reality Art Pod, here with a full season recap of the Challenge 41, Vets, and New Threats. I recap the show in live time, so I've stitched together my recaps from the whole season to make it easier for you to get the whole story in one sitting. The opinions I express throughout are my takes from the time the episode originally aired, so you'll be able to hear my live thoughts on the season as it develops. If you like the content, consider liking, subscribing, and using my link to try Paramount Plus for free. But let's dive into it. TJ declares this the start of a new era, where 16 new threats and 16 vets will compete, with the new threats having a lot to prove. We join their first challenge already in progress. The players have to race up a hill to their house. The order that they get to their house will be the order they get to pick partners. This season, the newbies will be partnered alongside the vets in duos to compete for the prize. Bananas is burping his way up the hill. Throughout this challenge, we're getting introduced to the new players with the new threat interrogation. TJ is sitting the newbies down and harassing them with questions, with the vets chiming in like temple guards to ask random questions too. Big Brother's young Cedric is excited to meet TJ. He wants to use his marine intelligence experience to tackle the challenge. The Amazing Race's Jeremy was a marine too. He's been through a lot, being raised by a single mother with mental health issues and being evicted from his house. Survivor Sydney calls herself funny and confident. She says you have to lack brain cells to not realize her greatness, and she's a philanthropist to the world for letting them see her on TV. Tay says she's not a fitness type, she's gonna rely on her social game, and America binge watched all of the seasons to prepare, and that's how she's gonna win. She says nobody binge watches a show like her. Bold statement. Too Hot to Handle's Izzy has been practicing her puzzles and training. She has a background in athletics and seems to impress TJ. We meet boxer Jake from Love Island, boxing commentator Ben, who's gonna try his best, and Lekka from Canada's Ultimate Challenge, who was the villain on her season and describes herself as religious. Adrian shares that she's on a weight loss journey. She's lost 100 pounds and fancies a touch of glam. Will wants to be a team player. Leo cracks himself up and basically says nothing about himself, even though he's a huge character. Gabe used to play rugby, be in WWE, and the military. He calls himself a freak, which piques TJ's interest. Kitty Per Blue says she's stronger and smarter than she came across on Big Brother. She says, "Girl, I've been working out." TJ does not like being misgendered and corrects her. When asked what she wants to do with the money, she tears up, sharing her story of being child of immigrants and her mother had recent brain injuries. Then she instantly stops crying and says, "And I want bigger titties." Kitty kitty purr. Okur. Justin is here to represent cheerleading as a sport. Dee is ready to manipulate the game just like she did on Survivor. Bananas ominously asks Dee if she has a boyfriend and if she'd like one. Bananas cool it toots. Back on the mountain, the women are impressed with Jeremy's performance, and the newbies are for the most part kicking the vets' butts. Anissa and CT are in last, but Naya's losing motivation for this and isn't starting off with a winning spirit. Jeremy gets to the house first. This house is the nicest house they've had for a while. While it's very high budget, the layout of the house is still giving classic challenge vibes. Players start mingling. Izzy wants to team up with Theo, especially with his built-in alliance with his girlfriend Olivia, who of course reminds us that she got hit with that golf ball. Bananas is working his social game, bonding with the newbies and treating Nani like his employee, summoning her for drinks. Jeremy is first to pick a partner. He's trying to pick someone who's a good social player. He's eyeing Aviv. Ah yes, the ultimate gamer. Aviv. Blue is vibing with the vet girls. They all love her personality, but she's ready to cut them at first opportunity. Jake and Izzy are trying to form an international alliance with the non-US players. Rogan is trying to partner with Izzy because he thinks she's hot and athletic. Sydney is of course talking herself up in confessional, saying she's the best thing the show has ever seen. The other players think Dee and Sydney are scary cutthroat players, which is true. Bananas is terrified of Dee, which turns him on. Leroy reminds us that he's lost and lost and lost. We know, Leroy, we know. Izzy thinks Rogan is easy on the eyes, and they're getting handsy with each other already, so that's happening. Newly single Nani is very fresh off her breakup with Casey. They're still friends and she's ready to throw herself into the game. Dee and Bananas laugh at CT's toes, but they don't show Dee's giant toe. What a missed opportunity. Dee and Bananas continue to flirt, and so do Izzy and Rogan. Now Izzy and Rogan are drinking wine and hooking up in the kitchen. Rogan calls this the Rogie charm. Oh man. Ashley calls them out for politicking and says they're making a huge target of themselves. Players gather with TJ. It's time to pick partners. They'll pick in order that they finished the previous daily, starting with Jeremy, who picks Aviv, which is an interesting pick and a full circle moment for her to get picked first in a season very similar to Fresh Meat. Izzy chooses Theo, and Rogan is crushed. But I politic so hard. He looks like he's gonna cry. You know what? Good. Young Cedric picks Olivia. Sydney chooses Leroy. Jake with Cara Maria. Michaela and Will. Bananas and his new boo D. Adrian chooses Rogan. Turbo picks America, who's thrilled to be with a champ. Ashley chooses Gabe, whose name she doesn't remember. There's Derek and Lekka, Nani and Ben, Derek and Blue, Tay and CT, naming themselves C Tay. And finally, Leo picks Anissa over Naya, leaving Justin and Naya the last pick players in the final pair. At our daily called Mud Ball Madness, a helicopter will drop a bunch of balls into this crater. This crater would hate to see me coming if I were in Donkey Kong Bonanza. Players will have to race into the crater to grab colored balls, with different colors being worth more points than others, the most valuable being the coveted gold ball. Each pair will be connected to each other. The team that gets the most points by the end of 2 heats wins the daily. The winners will be safe from elimination and get to choose one other team to be safe as well. The last place team is automatically in the elimination and will face the team that the rest of the house votes in. Right away, Sydney is bragging to us about herself, how she's a public defender, and how everyone thinks she's an angel who does God's work, but nobody in this house has a brain like Sydney, according to Sydney. TJ also says that teams will be working to accumulate points as the season goes on. The top 8 teams in the challenge will also get points, with first place getting 8 points, second place getting 7, all the way down to 8th place getting 1 point. The rest of the teams will get 0. Anissa teaches Leo how to do a confessional. Taking little Leo under her wing, Anissa jokes that she wants a job in production. CT plans to carry Tay through this like a backpack. Justin and Naya want to fly under the radar and make a lot of people upset and surprised when they do well. So they get started with those balls dropping into the crater's chocolate milk basin. As TJ watches on like Mufasa, Leo is trying to help Anissa. He's already planning to win the money and blow it on stupidity. Olivia tells us that her loyalty lies with Theo and the UK alliance. Ashley and Gabe take a hard fall, and Adrian is taking off her shoes, doing this challenge barefoot to keep up with Rogan. The inner parent in me was screaming, "You're gonna hurt your foot, love." Boring contestant Jake from Love Island wants to win the money and open up a pup cafe and name it after Lenny, his dog. Cute, but yawn. Naya is another veteran from the island of misfit joints. She's got a messed up knee from our previous challenge, so she's struggling here. Some of the teams are doing really well, like Johnny and Dee, Olivia and young Cedric, but CT and Tay are stuck in place, and Turbo is dragging America, who looks like she's about to pass out. Players are spent as the first heat comes to a close. Adrian hurt her foot and it's bleeding, but the show must go on in the second heat. The second ball drop has a ton of gold ones. Players should have conserved their energy for this. Naya and Justin get 2 gold ones, so do Olivia and young Cedric. Cedric tells us he still thinks it's crazy that he was pre-jury on Big Brother, and his biggest weakness is he's too trusting. Lekka is crushing this as a former pro basketball player, but Derek K is holding her back because he just had surgery on his leg from his injury on season 40, so he needed to come back right away for season 41 and ruin someone else's shot at the money. By the end of this challenge, everyone's hobbling. Half this cast needs to be taken out of here in a body bag. CT is happy that his partner Tay motivated him to finish it. Adrian is taken to the ambulette to get stitches on her foot, which was gore and gross. They tell Adrian she can't walk for 5 days. She says, "I'm not going home because of this, no way." I said, "You just might, love. You should have kept your shoes on and your sock." So let's get to the results. The 8 teams in the top, getting some points in order from 8th to 1st, are Naya and Justin, Leroy and Sydney, Ashley and Gabe, Michaela and Will, Olivia and Cedric, Theo and Izzy, Aviv and Jeremy, and the winners of this daily are Bananas and Dee. So they're safe, and they get to choose one other team to be safe as well. The losing team with the least points are Rogan and Adrian. With one more twist from TJ, he's gonna flip a coin to decide if it's a men's or women's elimination. It ends up being men's, so Rogan is in the elimination. Adrian's fate is unknown. Players get to strategizing. Johnny knows about the UK alliance and feels that it's a direct threat to him. Bananas loves that Rogan's in the bottom and is ready to deal a crushing blow to the UK people. Bananas tells Derek K that he thinks Olivia is the ringleader of the UK alliance. But who cares about this conversation? It's time for the players to unwind. We're going to the club. Turbo is of course dressed like the Babadook. Rogan wants an easy opponent in the elimination, telling everyone that he wants one of what he calls the little guys, Ben and Justin. Will isn't down to help him target his friend Justin. The girls are worried that if their partner goes home in elimination, that they'll go home with them, which plays a lot into the strategy of this round. Elsewhere in the club, Theo and Bananas are bickering about Bananas waging war with Olivia in the game. Will tells Justin that his name is coming up. Justin knows that Rogan wants Justin as an opponent because Justin has a snatched waist and Rogan can throw him around. Derek C sees himself in Justin and gives Justin a pep talk about being underestimated and feeling like he has something to prove. Derek also vows to help Justin strategically and not vote for him. The next day, Leroy decides that he doesn't like the idea of voting in Ben or Justin because they're teamed up with his friends Naya and Nani, so a bunch of the vets strategize with the plan to have Bananas and Dee save a UK team with the hopes that the saved team won't be allowed to vote in the house vote and then pile all of their votes on another UK team. They head to the nominations where they try to execute this plan. Dee and Bananas choose to save Theo and Izzy, but TJ messes up their plans, telling the group that Theo and Izzy will still get a vote. So they get to voting. Kara gets snippy with Aviv when Aviv voted for Kara's partner Jake. New beef alert. So the UK alliance are all voting for Justin, but even the other players start piling votes onto Justin, including Derek C. When Derek votes for Justin, it really hurts his feelings and leads to him calling Derek disrespectful and confessional. So it'll be Rogan versus Justin in this elimination. Rogan is already making rude comments about this, saying he hopes it's not a pom-pom in the elimination. I said to myself, I hope there are pom-poms in the elimination. Get his ass, Justin. So they head to the elimination in the arena, which looks so cool. After Justin calls Derek out again for backstabbing him, they learn they'll be playing Inertia. They have to roll inside wheels to build momentum and get their wheel across a bumpy roller coaster track. This looks like a fun elimination to be in. So they get started, both trying to figure out the momentum that they need. Justin gets to a lead, having better control of his body from cheer, but Rogan has more body to throw around and is just hurling himself. Justin finds his footing and is tumbling in this wheel, doing somersaults, which looks very superhero-esque. Justin gets across first and has to head back, and the show makes Justin look so cool as he kicks Rogan's ass in embarrassing fashion. You know what? Good. The new threat kicked the vet's butt. So Naya and Justin rejoin the group, and we learn Adrian's fate. She's now the hangnail, so she won't play in the next daily challenge. And after that challenge, her fate is in the jury's hands. TJ also tells the group that they're about to get new partners next week. So we say goodbye to Rogan here, and what a sweet goodbye it is. I'm so happy, happy, happy. I really don't like this guy. Never wanted to see him again. I think he's such a jerk, and don't know why the show thinks we wanted this. He, in this 2 episodes, was seen cozying up to Izzy, getting rejected by her when she didn't want to be his partner, which made him look foolish. And then in this episode, he wasn't even really in the bottom because of anything he did. Even though I don't like him, I don't think he did really bad in the game in this episode. He lost the daily because his partner got hurt. He got his alliance to throw in the opponent he wanted, and he did try in the elimination. But I'm glad that I can enjoy my show a little bit more without him on it. Tee-hee-hee. If you ask me if I want to see him again on this show in the future, I'll know it's rhetorical. TJ tells the group they'll pick new partners in order based on how they finished in the last daily challenge. Partners for this round are Dee and Leroy, Bananas and Izzy, Aviv and Jake, Jeremy and Nani, Theo and Sydney, Olivia and Will, Cedric and Ashley, Michaela and Leo, Gabe and Kara, Naya and Ben, Justin and Anissa, Lekka and Turbo, Blue and Derek K, America and CT, Tay and Derek, and Adrian is still the hangnail. Remember the points they get in the daily challenges? Justin gets a bonus 2 points for winning this elimination. Back at the house, Will continues to give praise to his friend Justin. Leo doesn't like how Derek went back on his word to Justin, telling us that Derek's lost trust in the house, at least with the rookies. The next day, everyone's working out as Kara stares jealously at Dee and Bananas flirting. Hangnail Adrian is relying on social game in this round. She's starting by cozying up with CT. Blue and America are worried ahead of the girls' elimination. Blue hopes that going from Derek C to Derek K and being a Derek hopper will be to her benefit. New storyline, very important to this episode. Will tells us that he and Dee used to hook up. Oop, he said the thing. Will says he comes off as a sweet guy, but he's really a badass Marine who's here to compete. Jeremy, Dee, Sydney, and Lekka form an alliance, calling themselves the strongest rookies, naming this alliance Janes and Tarzan, but for copyright reasons, the show renames them Janes and Jungle Man. This is a terrible alliance name both ways, but a very strong alliance. They head to their daily where Ashley flirtily tells TJ he looks good. They'll be playing side by side. Players need to stick together. There's one observation area where they can see cars flying through the air. I thought, are they going to drive the cars, jump off of them? No, they're just going to stand there, watching the cars fly by, memorizing the codes that are underneath the cars. Then they'll recreate the codes on their puzzle boards. Poor Adrian has to stand there in the circle by herself. They get started. The cars do move really fast. Dee picked Leroy first, but he admits he's not good at puzzles, with flashbacks to prove it. Ben's partner Naya is still dealing with her hurt knee from day 0. CT pro tips are back. He decides he can figure this puzzle out without memorizing it from the cars, and other players start realizing that the puzzle mirrors itself over. Lekka and Turbo come in first place in this daily. Dee runs over and asks Lekka for help. Turbo says Dee is cheating and doesn't let it happen. I mean, you can't socialize during the challenge. I didn't feel like this was cheating. Derek Hopper Blue is not satisfied with this Derek's performance here. He's not helping her out. Eventually, one of the cars crash. This was dangerous. And why did they show the car crashing on the show? It was embarrassing for the production. The bottom 2 teams are Blue and Derek K and Tay and Derek C. Justin is loving seeing Derek C in the bottom, calling it karma biting his ass. But Derek K and Blue end up in last place and will automatically be an elimination this week. TJ announces a new twist. Instead of picking one team to save, winners Turbo and Lekka will pick one woman to put at risk, and the house will vote between the person they choose and Hangnail Adrian, who will face Blue in elimination. But who cares about any of this? We're heading to the club, where Adrian is ready to social game her way out of this mess. Turbo is, as usual, pulling stunts in his light-up glasses from Amazon. Derek and Justin unpack their drama. Justin's not gonna let it go that Derek turned on him, and feels like it was an FU to Justin. Derek tells us he was always gonna choose his long-term friends over this person he just met. I mean, I can see both their points, but Derek should never have said all those things to Justin and made it like it was for a greater cause. That was a bit too much. Players continue to turn up. Turbo pranks Bananas with a middle finger in a box. Lekka asks Adrian and Blue who they want to be put at risk. Blue wants to face Tay, but Adrian does not want that. She wants Michaela to be the pick because she doesn't have a relationship with Michaela. New beef. Derek C and Leo are fighting over a drink. Derek is mad because Leo told Derek there was a drink special that did not exist, tricking Derek into buying an extra drink that Leo drank. This was so stupid. Bananas and Dee continue to flirt. Will looks on. He's pissed. He once again reminds us that they used to hook up. We get it. You used to hook up. At this point, I'm looking for details about the hookup, or I don't want to hear it. Will is mad on the bus. This was out of an episode of Snapped. Back at the house, Will reveals that he and Dee hooked up at the hotel, I guess before the show. Again, needed more details. Sure, this is recent, but falling in love with your hotel hookup is crazy. Will continues to become feral as Dee and Bananas cuddle. Anissa has to wrangle Will outside. Then the sound of broken broken glass. Will punched a hole in a wall, and now he's crying. Boo hoo hoo. Justin gets him to drink water, as good friends do. Dee and Bananas continue to cuddle. The next day, Will is hungover and realizing he's embarrassed himself. Just when you think the wild's behavior's over, because it's a nice day, in conversation about how men are idiots, Naya says she would never let any of these men kiss her, pulls her vibrator out of her bag, kisses the vibrator, and cuddles with the vibrator against her face and pillow. Tay seems to know she's going into elimination and is putting on a brave face. At least she has a good spirit. They head to nominations where Tay looks stunning, and Lekka and Turbo nominate Tay for the jury vote. So the house votes between Adrian and Tay. America is the only one who votes for Adrian to go into elimination because Tay is her friend. Everyone else votes Tay into elimination against Blue. They head to elimination, which has been turned into the club. Players will be playing laser focus. The offensive player outside the circle will try to run in and hit as many of the laser beams as they can. The defensive player will try to block them. Each round will have 10 beams. The player who gets the most beams out of 10 wins a point for the round. The player who gets 2 of 3 round wins the elimination. They get started in round 1. Blue's on offense. Blue is quickly bodying Tay. She flips Tay over. I don't even know how she did that. Blue gets 5 points. Tay moves to offense. Tay is just outrunning Blue, leading to a round 1 win for Tay. Round 2 starts with Blue on offense again. Blue does better than last time. By the end of this round, Tay seems tired as hell. And on offense, Blue whoops Tay out of the beam, and Blue wins round 2. Heading into round 3, Tay looks like her life is flashing before her eyes. Both players seem gassed. Blue scores 4 on offense. If Tay beats a 4, she'll win the elimination. In her turn, Tay gets to 6, and Gabe shades Blue for giving up as Tay gets the other 4 beams. But why should Blue keep trying if she already lost? So Tay gets to stay in the game, and I guess gets 2 bonus points for winning the elimination. So we lose Blue here. We all know I'm a writer for Blue Kim. In her 3-episode run here, she showed so much personality and ate the screen up every time. She wasn't as good in challenges as I thought she would be, but she held her own. According to her, she was let down by Derek K, who, like I said last episode, is a terrible partner, and it's selfish that he came back for the season. How is the rookie player supposed to figure out the whole daily without support from an experienced player? Johnny and CT figured out the pattern, and Derek wasn't helping Blue at all. At least we got to hear her say her catchphrases, giving us one last kitty purr. Oh, kurr. I really hope she's received well by the challenge fans and invited back to the show because she's greatly contributed to the show in a short period of time. I'm hopeful because she stays hanging out with the other players from this cast. It seems like she really enjoyed the experience. They pick partners for the week. They're not allowed to pick people they've been partnered with before. Pairs for this week are Lekka and Leroy, Turbo and Izzy, Olivia and Justin, Will and Nani, America and Bananas, Dee and CT, Anissa and Jeremy, Ashley and Jake, Michaela and Cedric, Leo and Aviv, Naya and Gabe, Ben and Kara, Sydney and Derek, Theo and Adrian, and last picks Tay and Derek K. During this, Will says that Nani is pretty. A weird thing to say at this time. Naya's knee continues to bother her. She's leaving to get an MRI and is telling us she's acting like she's fine, so she doesn't look like a liability, but everyone knows about this knee, and she's wearing a knee brace. Gabe is pissed at Naya for picking him to be his partner, going around the house saying F her and that she's weak aside from her knee. Naya finds out about this and cries and vents to Aviv in the closet. Players are turning up in the daytime. It's Derek C's birthday, so they have everything. Speedos, piñata, and the return of Kara Mario, who does a little roast. Michaela tells us Kara has no idea what's going on in this game. Naya pulls Gabe from the party to confront him and tell him he's basically an amateur who has no right to tell her worth. Gabe tries to lie to us in confessional, telling us a different version of the story that we just saw. In his retell, he's an innocent little baby. Cedric is pretending he doesn't know how to swim in the pool to trick the other players. America also tells us she just learned how to swim as they arrive at the challenge where, guess what? They'll be swimming. At the challenge, TJ says they're still waiting for Naya's MRI results, so Naya and Gabe won't be able to compete in this challenge. Gabe is back in confessional, now accusing Naya of faking her injury. They'll be playing water tower. One player will jump into the water, swim to this container, climb the rock climbing wall alongside the container, then jump into the container, swim down underwater to escape it, and swim over to the puzzle. While this one player does all of this, their partner just has to swim to the puzzle and try to solve it, but they can't finish the puzzle until both of the players are together. One teammate has to do clearly much more than the other here. Sydney and Derek C and Tay and Derek K go first. Sydney's the swimmer for her team and calls herself a mermaid as she kicks Derek K's butt. Derek K screams in agony as he jumps into the container, but he survives and finishes. America struggles with swimming to the puzzle, but she's a good partner for Bananas. They finish their puzzle quickly. Izzy falls off the wall, DQing she and Turbo. From the sidelines, Gabe says he could have done this by himself, and he really could have. Olivia and Justin work well together. She's done with the puzzle just as he's getting to it. Thankfully, they speedrun through a lot of these turns, but we see Leo crushing his swimming, and Theo and Leroy falling off the wall and getting DQ'd, bringing their partners Adrian and Lekka down with them. Aviv is drowning in the container, telling us she's having a near-death experience, so she and Leo are disqualified as well. Cedric impresses the group with his swan dive in swimming. In the results, TJ tells them that since they couldn't compete, Naya and Gabe are automatically in last place, and it's a girls' elimination day, so Naya's automatically in elimination. The top 8 teams, which are all the teams that finished, will get points for this, but the daily winners in first place are Justin and Olivia. They'll be able to save one team from the house vote. Olivia strategizes with Cara Kara. Kara is already plotting Banana's demise, but we don't have time for that. Players are heading to the club where Turbo shades Theo because Olivia's a baddie and he's not. Olivia and Justin socialize. They're trying to make a little alliance with their girlfriends. Olivia wants to protect Izzy, and they consider making America the house vote in a plot to make Bananas the hangnail next week. Anissa is putting her ankle to the test, doing tire runs at the club. The anti-America sentiment is spreading around the club as she waits alone for drinks. Leroy encourages Gabe to apologize and pump up Naya so she wins the elimination and he can avoid being the hangnail. Justin and Olivia tell Izzy that they're leaning towards saving her. Meanwhile, Michaela's bonding with the rookie guys, which is probably a smart investment in her future. Olivia wants to protect her friend and fellow lady of leisure, Naya, so she's trying to get her an easy opponent. Sydney is not a fan of the UK alliance, plus their ringleader Olivia. She's over it. She's working with Team America, the Americans, who don't seem very supportive of America, the player. Gabe apologizes to Naya, which she accepts, so that's a nice little moment. Justin is standing himself for having the most points of the guys in the house. Cedric says he likes Justin, but says that Justin's being arrogant. America can sense that she's in trouble here. They head to nominations, where TJ announces they're still waiting for Naya's MRI results. Justin and Olivia save Izzy. TJ asks if anyone has anything to say. Michaela stands up, calling Olivia out, saying that nobody was voting for Izzy anyway, so saving her was just pointless, and advertising the side that she's on. So they get to voting. Anissa stands up and says that Naya requested Tay as an opponent, but Kara is annoyed, saying that Naya never even said that, and that Anissa is Banana's puppet. There's so much tension here. Bananas gets annoyed at everyone, and has words with Adrian of all people, where Bananas proclaims, "I am the challenge," and oop, he said the thing. Leo makes a random announcement that the rookies can't keep voting for each other. They need to rise up, which makes himself stand out as the next target. Ultimately, America and Bananas get the most votes, mainly because everyone wants to take a shot at Bananas. Bananas has crafted a sign that sits between he and Aviv that says foot blocker, saving them from cheating allegations. Olivia enters their headquarters for a little spat, where Anissa looks on from the bed, hoping she'll be good with both sides to keep herself safe. No resolution from this talk. Olivia should not have walked in. So players head to the elimination, where there's logs and rope. Bananas continues to piss off the group by trolling them. Finally, TJ announces the results of Naya's MRI and commercial cliffhanger. There is no reason for the results of Naya's MRI to be treated like a paternity test on Maury. And TJ tells Naya she's not medically cleared to continue from the MRI and that she's leaving. Gabe will be the hangnail next week. So we have to say goodbye to Naya here, who I came into this season questioning her desire to compete. Her whole run here was very strange, starting with her wearing jeans to the initial challenge. Still don't know why when everyone else was wearing athletic attire. She even says in that challenge that she's taking it easy and doesn't want to get hurt, which makes me feel like she was already kind of hurt during that challenge from before. So I'm just wondering what happened here. Why are we letting so many vets start the season with existing injuries? So half of this is production's fault, but then there's inconsistencies in that Jordan ran a final with a broken leg. They let Derek bring down Arrow 1 with his broken leg last season. They let Adrian stay with her stitches. So based on those players continuing, I just feel like Naya didn't really want to be there. I don't want to say she was faking it. I'm going to believe she did get the MRI, but I'm still not seeing that fire from her. And while she's had a lot of good moments in the past, she's become a lot more mature and calm over the years, which just isn't what I'm looking for in a reality TV person. So I'm happy we saw this growth, but I wouldn't really care whether or not we saw her again on the main show. Teams for this week are Justin and Aviv, Olivia and Jeremy, Cedric and Kara, Michaela and Ben, Derek C and Izzy, Sydney and Turbo, Anissa and Will, Nani and Jake, Bananas and Lekka, America and Theo, Derek K and D, Tay and Leroy, Ashley and Leo, and CT and Adrian. The moon is out, the wolves are howling, and the players get back from wasting their time at elimination. Players strategize, with Bananas still the target of Olivia and the UK alliance. Even vets like CT are annoyed with Bananas. Gabe is the hangnail this week. He's a rookie that just had beef with Naya about her knee, so he's got a tough road ahead of him this week. CT and Ben call themselves the Chubsters. Ben loves CT. There's a whole montage of CT's greatest moments, because why not? The next day, Bananas teaches Turbo to say skies out, thighs out. Turbo tells us he dreams of being an action movie actor, and CT shows them his booty cheeks, which I don't think I can include in this video. Justin is excited to be teamed up with Aviv, saying she's a mom, so she has to be smart, right? They get to their daily challenge, where TJ gives America 2 points for surviving the elimination that she didn't compete in. They'll be playing Amazed. In 2 heats, they'll race into a maze and solve one of the many puzzles of varying distance and difficulty. The team with the fastest time getting to their puzzle, solving it, and getting out of the maze will win the daily, and the team with the slowest time or fewest answers at the end of 45 minutes will face elimination. They get started with Heat 1. We've got half the players in there being chaotic. Jeremy says the best strategy is to go for a medium puzzle. I agree. Leroy tells us he doesn't care if the puzzle's hard or easy, he's just gonna get it done. Okay, Leroy. They have to do a Sudoku puzzle. Leo is pissing Ashley off trying to help. She wants control. He looks at us like, you see this girl? Ashley continues to get annoyed because Leo told her he just learned Sudoku yesterday. She says he's about to see Smashly. Derek and Izzy get flustered and have to start over. Olivia and Jeremy finish their puzzle first, and it's a foot race between them and CT and Adrian. After a wrong turn from Olivia and Jeremy, CT and Adrian finish first and win the heat, followed by Olivia and Jeremy, Leroy and Tay, Anissa and Will, Derek C and Izzy, Leo and Ashley, and Aviv and Justin in last. Heat 2 goes next. Turbo has no idea what Sudoku is. His partner Sydney doesn't seem to either, but she says the cream always rises to the top and she's the fluffiest cream that there is. Michaela wants to win this to target the UK alliance. Dee wants to keep her boo bananas safe. Michaela and Ben are working well together. America thinks Theo sucks and is huffing and puffing as they get to the puzzle, as some teams are already almost done. Michaela and Ben finish first. Another victory for the Chubsters, followed by Turbo and Sydney. This heat is a mess. Kara and Cedric have to start over. Nani doesn't know Sudoku. Bananas and Lekka start over with 5 minutes left. Dee and Derek K finish, leaving Nani and Jake, America and Theo, Cedric and Kara, and Bananas and Lekka timed out. In the results, the losing team with the least correct answers is Bananas and Lekka, a victim of the board resetting incident. So Bananas will be going right into elimination, and the winning team with the fastest time were Ben and Michaela. They'll select one team to go against Gabe in the house vote to see who will face Bananas in the elimination. But who cares about any of that? Players are going to the club. Bananas tells us this is his first time he's ever come in dead last in a challenge and have to go to elimination. Derek does a painful looking death drop. The desire to eliminate Bananas continues, but Michaela's locked into the game and is trying to make sure the right thing happens this week. Michaela and Ben consult Cedric for their nominee. He doesn't want to say a name because he's loving all the players loving him and wanting to marry him. He doesn't want to make any enemies. Lekka tells Michaela that Leo's probably going to vote Gabe in no matter what, which annoys Michaela because just last week Leo was preaching about the newbies sticking together. The next day, Michaela's decided she's not going to get what she wants to get done since the house is going to vote for Gabe no matter what, so she tells Ben to choose their nomination to keep her own hands clean. At deliberation, Ben decides to nominate Derek C to be the nominee, feeling like Derek will be safe. Michaela tells us there's an army of silly women who will never vote Derek into elimination. So they get to voting and all vote for Gabe to face Johnny in elimination. Gabe gets emotional. He used to be an athlete in the real world and now he's not, and it affects his confidence. They head to elimination called Hold Him Back. There's a curved wall with 3 ropes going through it. They'll play in 2 heats, each taking an offensive and defensive position. They have to attach themselves to one of the 3 ropes and run forward to get their token into their basket, while the defensive player holds them back from behind the wall. The player with the fastest time wins the elimination. Bananas is the offensive player first, trying to trick Gabe by tugging on one rope then switching to another, which is smart strategy, but when Gabe catches him, it's tough opposition. Bananas gets his first 2 tokens, but really struggles with the third. Gabe is whipping Bananas into a smoothie. Bananas finishes in 11 minutes and 33 seconds. Gabe is next on offense. He takes his token and runs. Bananas puts in a fight, but when Gabe gets running with the token, there's no catching him. Gabe says he's about to become the big bad grizzly bear. On the third token, Gabe is going full banana backpack and finishes in 2 minutes, obviously winning the elimination. So we lose Bananas here, who came into the season very understaffed. On season 40, he was on the outs, but he had his 3 banana angels there to help him. Now he's back with only Aviv as his angel, and Anissa and Derek K were his replacement angels, it seems. Bananas' requirement for allies is a leg injury, so it's no surprise that he's targeted by the house and outnumbered, and he still put up a fight in this elimination and showed that he's still as competitive as ever, though I think it's gotten to a point where Bananas is always going to struggle socially and have difficulty gathering numbers the more the new generation takes over, though I think he just enjoys being there and has fun being on the show, which keeps him coming back. His relationship with Dee was really odd, the way they were all over each other from the beginning, and I'm happy we get to see Dee play without him. But the teams are Olivia and Ben, Jake and Michaela, CT and Sydney, Adrian and Turbo, Jeremy and Ashley, Leroy and America, Tay and Theo, Will and Aviv, Anissa and Cedric, Derek C and D, Izzy and Derek K, Leo and Kara, Justin and Nani, and Gabe and Lekka end up being a team of 2 new threats because the vets have too many divas down. Players take the bus home. I love to see the bus ride. The group is impressed with Gabe, and most of the new threats are feeling good that Bananas is gone. Michaela says it's okay they feel that way because the pride comes before the fall. Oop, she said the thing. Back at the house, Dee makes a shrine to Bananas, complete with a banana, a fire hazard candle in bed, the foot blocker sign, and one of her bras. The next day, the rookie guys are uniting, wanting to maximize on the numbers and get 2 vets into elimination this week. Theo tells us the rookies are basically naive and in for a rude awakening. Anissa walks in on the rookie meeting. She's being a little spy. Pretty abruptly, Cara Maria gets bad news from home and has to leave, so we lose Cara here, who was a weird presence this season, having come on the show right in the middle of the controversy on social media. I was expecting that to be addressed somehow, but Kara doesn't really have a storyline at all this season, besides being anti-bananas, but she leaves in an unfortunate way with her mom sadly ending up passing away, so she made the right choice to go home. The next day, players head to the daily. TJ addresses Kara's departure. Leo's getting a new partner. Enter Janae, 13-time challenger, 3-time finalist, and 2-time champ. I like the switch out for Janae over Kara. Wish it was that way from the beginning. I love Janae, but she performed so much better on All-Stars, and coming in so late is such a disadvantage. I'm rooting for her, but I don't know if I feel good about this. In this challenge, teams need to race to dig up poles that they'll use to build a field goal. Then one player from each team has to kick the football over their field goal. The first 8 teams to finish get points. The fastest team wins the daily, and last place goes right into elimination. They get started. Derek K is disappointed that his partner Izzy isn't helping him. CT is really helpful to Sydney. She's digging as he's lifting that heavy log. Players are working their booties off, and these poles look dangerous as hell when they fall down. Ashley's again frustrated with her partner, this time Jeremy. You know, it gets to a point where the problem might be you and not everyone else. They start building their field goals. Derek and Izzy continue to struggle. Ashley's moaning in agony, which Adrian says sounds like porn. Janae doesn't feel like Leo is a good teammate. He just wants to do his own thing. Michaela and Jake get their field goal built first, and ultimately win the daily, followed by Adrian and Turbo, Aviv and Will, Lekka and Gabe, Anissa and Cedric, America and Leroy, Sydney and CT, and Ashley and Jeremy are all getting points. Ben is kicking over and over again, getting to 16 attempts, and he just doesn't know how to kick a football, which is actually embarrassing. Once he gets to the point of crying, Olivia takes a turn and easily kicks the field goal, leaving Izzy and Derek K and D and Derek C in the bottom 2. It comes down to a photo finish, a simultaneous kick, which sees D and Derek C becoming the dead last losers in the challenge. Daily winners Michaela and Jake get to pick one team to save from elimination, and TJ reveals it's a guy's elimination. Derek is going straight in and will face off against the house vote. Back at the house, Janae has to start strategizing. She knows most of the vets, especially Derek C, who she's really close with, but who cares about that? Players are going to the club. Happy times. Derek isn't thinking about elimination, he's drinking about it, feeling confident. Michaela's once again taking a back seat in the decision. She tells us whatever Jake decides is fine with her. Derek tells the winners he wants to take out a new threat. Jeremy's trying to bring in Gabe. The Janes and Tarzan Alliance see Gabe as an asset because they see the game more and more becoming vets versus new threats, and Gabe is one of the strongest threats. Derek C tells Ashley he wants to take out a big name. On the rookie side, he wants Will or Jeremy. Ashley's not down to lose her partner Jeremy and to become the hangnail. Derek is making Ashley's eye twitch with this. America rats Derek's plan out to Will. She knows the rookies need to stick together. Back at the house, Ashley's still crashing out about being the hangnail. Olivia's like, I don't care, I'll be the hangnail. Also worth noting that Theo tweeted today that Olivia's been pregnant on this show since episode 3, which is making me see everything she does under that perspective. The next day, the vets are riding with making Olivia the hangnail. Now, Olivia's acting like she didn't mean it in a volunteering way and is faulting the other players for thinking that. I would have thought that too, though. So we get to the deliberation. Michaela and Jake decide to save Leo and Janae, with Jake wanting to pull Leo in close as an ally. Olivia's annoyed that she got called out for saving a team that wasn't at risk when she won, but now other people can do it and get away with it. They get to voting with votes split all over the place. Gabe votes for himself, Anissa votes for Justin and Nani, which pisses off Nani, but most votes pour in for Ben and Olivia, and Jeremy and Ashley, which ends in a tie vote between these teams. So TJ forces them to vote again, but they can only vote for the tied teams. Anissa votes for Ashley, and Ashley confessionals that Anissa can't stay loyal to anything besides losing the challenge. She ate her up with that. The vote ties again, so TJ brings on a coin toss, which Ben loses, so Ben will face Derek C in elimination. Following this, the vets are annoyed with Anissa. Aviv says that Anissa's loyal to Olivia over the other vets. Players head to elimination, a him-branded hall brawl called Him Collider. They'll start back-to-back holding a football, racing around the circular hall, with the goal of passing their opponent and scoring their ball in the basket. Best of 3 will win. They get started. The first round is pretty low contact. They run past each other, and Derek scores the first point. In round 2, a harder hit, Derek tramples Ben, and gets his second point, eliminating Ben from the game, and making Olivia the hangnail next week. Props to Derek for beasting this elimination, but this has to be one of the lamest hall brawls I've ever seen. So we lose Ben here, who I didn't really have high hopes for coming into this, given his fighting stats off the show, but he ends up being a competent player for the most part, making alliances with the other rookies. He had some silly moments doing his announcer voice in confessional, which I was expecting. It all falls apart for him here in this episode, starting with that really pathetic attempt at punting a football. The field goal was like 10 feet away. Then he got voted in and lost a coin toss, and he gets hall brawl. I take issue with the fact that he has a fighting background and is a fighting commentator and just doesn't take the effort and make contact in the hall brawl, and got his ass honestly kicked by Derek. In the end, this was a bad episode for him. Bad in the challenge, bad social game, bad luck, bad elimination, and I wouldn't care if we saw him again, but there's some appeal to this clumsy character who's bad at the challenge on every challenge cast. Teams for this week: Michaela and Jeremy, Jake and Janae, Adrian and Derek C, Turbo and Tay, Aviv and Cedric, Ashley and Will, Lekka and CT, Gabe and Anissa, America and Derek K, Leroy and Izzy, Sydney and Leo, Nani and Theo, and Justin and D. And Olivia is the hangnail. She won't compete in the daily and will automatically face the jury Leroy in the house vote. Heading back from the elimination, Leo preaches in the bus that the rookies need to stick together and that all of the vets are basically busted and can't compete. No more rookie on rookie crime, Leo says. They're all rallied around this. Justin says they're gonna put the vets in retirement homes, but Izzy wants to protect her ally, hangnail Olivia, so she's not sure if she's down for this plan. The next day, the vet women are sick of Anissa. She's not loyal to them. She was even turning on them in last week's vote, so that's something to keep an eye on. They head to their daily challenge, Ruins My Life, a heights over water challenge where they need to swim out, climb a structure to collect puzzle pieces, build a puzzle on top, jump back in, and swim back. CT is already getting flashbacks to being ambulanced out of a similar challenge last season. He seems very disturbed by this and calls it facing his trauma. The last place team's woman goes straight into elimination, and the winning team will decide who goes against Olivia in the house vote. Anissa and Gabe and CT and Lekka go first. CT faces his trauma. Anissa's impressing Gabe, and they perform well together, but CT is paralyzed with fear and is just not able to get on the ladder. Poor Lekka has to do this all by herself. Turbo thinks CT isn't doing it because his life in the game isn't on the line. CT coaches Lekka from the water, and she still finishes this before Gabe and Anissa. An amazing performance from Lekka. Next are Aviv and Cedric and Ashley and Will. Both teams do well, but Aviv and Cedric really nail this, with Cedric being a great partner here, so they finish first. Leroy and Izzy take on Derek K and America. Derek is crushing it, but America has a little panic. She pushes through and gets a puzzle piece after lots of cheerleading from TJ. Leroy gasses out, and Izzy falls, giving Derek and America the edge to win the heat. Izzy takes a hard fall trying to get their last piece. Izzy and Leroy time out and are disqualified. The show speedruns through the next few heats. I guess they don't find some of them interesting, but what if we wanted to see our faves take on a challenge on a show called The Challenge? In Heat 7, Dee and Justin take on Leo and Sydney. Sydney calls the other players NARPs, non-athletic regular people. Both of these teams are savage and showing what the new threats can do. Dee even achieves what Izzy tried and failed to do. Leo breaks the challenge and pulls the rope net up to get the puzzle piece instead of climbing down, which was genius. And Leo and Sydney win the heat. In the results, TJ tells the group that because CT never made it up his ladder, he and Lekka automatically lose the heat, which didn't seem fair to me, given that Lekka completed the puzzle, but whatever. So Lekka will be in the arena, and the daily winners are Leo and Sydney. They'll be safe and get to decide which team will be up for elimination against Olivia. Following the challenge, the rookies meet. Leo plans to use Izzy's name as a decoy to cause panic in the house and not tell anyone which vet they're really going to nominate. Izzy feels thrown to the wolves about this. She doesn't feel like the other rookies even like her. Cedric, Jeremy, and Turbo are pissed at CT. CT walks in and Turbo calls him out for it, which turns into a fight where CT calls Turbo the moral police. They go back and forth calling each other pussy, you're a pussy, no you're a pussy. Turbo tells CT, if you can't do challenges, don't come, and CT says, I'll come anytime I want. Turbo exits stage right, calling CT a lazy fat ass. Then CT decides he wants to hug it out with Turbo. Not a good time for a hug. Turbo is about to shank him with a flosser, but Nani, Turbo's babysitter, ensures that all becomes calm. But who cares about any of this? We're going to the club. Leo tells Sydney that he's being himself in the game. He's an instigator, and he points out the vet's youth is fleeting. Lekka thanks Turbo for standing up for her. Lekka feels like Izzy should have been in the bottom for her performance in the daily, so she actually wants Izzy to be her opponent. Anissa campaigns to Sydney to save herself. Olivia also doesn't want Anissa to be nominated, but Michaela feels safe because she's bonded with a lot of the rookies, especially the Survivor girls. Izzy pulls Olivia and tells Olivia that her name is the decoy name, showing the new threats that she can't be trusted. The next day, Olivia campaigns to Leo, asking him not to nominate Anissa. She asks him to nominate Ashley instead. So players head to nominations where, after a long speech that doesn't make any sense from Leo and Sydney decide to nominate Anissa, saying her alliances don't make sense. So the jury has to decide between Olivia and Anissa. It ends up being a split vote, getting down to Leroy and Izzy. Izzy wants to save Olivia, but Leroy is adamant that he doesn't want his friend Anissa in elimination. So they vote Olivia, making Olivia the house vote. So Olivia will face off against Lekka in the elimination. Later, players head to the arena. They'll be playing out of time. It's simple. They have 5 minutes to race up and down a ramp with rollers, hitting a button with each rep. At the end of 5 minutes, the player with the most reps done wins the elimination. They get started. Lekka gets to a quick lead, her sports background coming in handy, and Lekka stays like half a rep ahead of Olivia for a long time. At a certain point, Lekka collapses on the rollers and just lays there, letting Olivia pass her up. Lekka just gasses out, and Olivia proves she's been training for this. In the end, Olivia wins the elimination, sending Lekka home. So we lose Lekka here, who is such a strong competitor. She did so well in dailies, even winning one. She was also playing well strategically in the strongest alliance in the house with the Tarzan and Janes. This wasn't a good episode for her. She had the debacle in the challenge where she had to do twice the work. I think it's BS that they were disqualified because CT couldn't get up the ladder. She did the puzzle all by herself and should have been rewarded for that. So a bad call from the ref, if I'm honest. Her alliance tried their best to get her a good opponent in Anissa. Ultimately, she lost the elimination to Olivia fair and square. I'd like to see her again on the show because she's a good competitor who got such a bad shake, though I'd like to see a little more reality TV-ness from her. Like, what happened to her was BS and everyone was talking about it except her. She handled this with way more maturity than I would have, which in the real world is a great thing, but on the challenge, let's stop being polite and start getting real. Teams for this episode are Sydney Johnny and Derek K, Leo and Nani, Adrian and Leroy, Derek and America, Aviv and Gabe, Cedric and Johnny, Michaela and Justin, Jeremy and Tay, Turbo and D, Ashley and Theo, Will and Izzy, Jake and Olivia, and CT and Anissa. Players return to the house where Olivia's army showers her with praise. Olivia and Theo call Leo stupid for speaking up against them at the previous nominations vote. Aviv, Ashley, Michaela, and Nani all agree that Olivia and Anissa aren't really with them, and that Olivia is a major threat to win in the end. The next day, Leo tells the other newbies he feels like Thanos because he has to make tough decisions. He wants a Leo snap the vets out of the house. Nani lays the Mac down on Will. D knows from experience that Will is basically crazy. Nani's just trying to get her nut. You know what? You go, girl. They head to the daily challenge, Drive Me Crazy. These rules were complicated. Each team will have one go-kart and 4 puzzles, taking turns being the driver. They have to do 5 laps around the track, and then the solver has 5 minutes to work on the puzzle. If they don't get the puzzle done, the driver has to go back out for 5 more laps. If they don't get each puzzle done after 15 laps, they could just move on to the next puzzle. Each team has 4 puzzles to complete, switching out as they go. When they complete all 4 puzzles, they'll head out for one last victory lap. I like that they're all playing at the same time, and the first team to finish wins the daily. The last place team to finish is at risk for elimination. CT squeezes himself into his suit, and he's ready. They get started. These go-karts are pretty fast. Anissa reveals she's NASCAR certified for over 20 years. What does that even mean? Leroy cracks himself up, saying CT has the body of 3 dads who lay on a couch and eat cigarettes. CT is weighing his cart down and feels like Bowser. Theo says he's a champion go-karter, which helps he and Ashley get to an early lead. Anissa and CT are crushing their puzzles, which makes up for CT dragging ass, but other teams are held back with the puzzles. This challenge really all comes down to puzzles. The driving doesn't seem that hard, nobody has problems. It's not a daily if Ashley isn't screaming in frustration at her partner. This time it's Theo. She's calling him an idiot, telling us she wants to run Theo over with her go-kart. The 4th puzzle gives a lot of people trouble, but Leo gets it right, leading into a final race to the finish between Leo and CT that Leo wins, so Leo and Nani get their nut and win the daily. Tay and Jeremy are in last, with Tay taking responsibility for the loss. In the results, TJ gives props to Leo for being the only person to complete that puzzle, so Nani and Leo are safe and get to choose one team to be safe from nominations, and it's a women's elimination. Tay will automatically go in and face the house vote. On the bus, the rookies conspire to give Tay whatever opponent she wants. She wants a vet, specifically John A, but Cedric isn't really into that because that's his partner, and he doesn't want to be the hangnail, but who cares about that? Players are going to the club. Tonight's club theme is twerking and dry humping. Tay even takes a stab at it in a move that would crack Anissa's ankles like dry spaghetti sticks. Sydney suggests to D and America that they secretly campaign against Izzy, who Sydney continues an immature rat who's working with Olivia. They approach Ashley, Nani, and Aviv and tell them that Johnny's name is being considered, with Sydney letting them in on the plan to nominate Izzy. These vets eat this plan up. They want to take these rookie girls under their wings as numbers. Will returns to his bed and finds Nani there waiting. They start hooking up with Cedric in the top bunk, but they act caught by the cameras even though they were on camera the whole time. So Nani leaves embarrassed, but then she's like, you know what? I'm coming back from my nut. So they're moaning as Aviv walks in like, Mom, Dad, I threw up. Aviv tells us at least someone's getting laid. Oops, she said the thing. Nani and Will go to the bathroom to get their nut uninterrupted, and the show makes a big spectacle of Nani's orgasm with fireworks, a train going through a tunnel, a fountain. Whoever edits the show is sick. The next day, CT is circulating D and Sydney's names as targets. Olivia likes targeting D, feeling like D is leading a rookie army. They head to the nominations with a few names on the table. Leo and Nani choose to save Ashley and Theo, and players get to voting with votes all over the place, but Izzy gets the majority of votes here and will face off against her best friend Tay. Tay is pissed at the other rookie girls, but the vets tell them to get over it. So they head to the elimination, pick it up again. They'll have to throw their basketball into one of 2 tracks of different difficulties. As the ball is rolling through the tracks, they can stack bricks on their columns. They need to catch their ball before it hits the ground and shoot it again to reset the timer. If their ball hits the ground, they have to start the whole thing over. The first player to get 5 stacks of 7 bricks wins the elimination. So they get started. Izzy quickly knocks into one of her podiums and ignores everyone telling her that the podium is crooked, continuing to stack bricks on it. The players are screaming, "It's crooked!" But of course, Izzy's stack eventually falls over. Izzy's frantic throughout, and Tay continues to be steady. Tay gobbles this elimination, making no drops and winning the elimination, sending out Izzy and making Will the hangnail for next week. We leave off with TJ telling them that the players with the most points after next round will have first pick of their partner for the rest of the season. So after next week, it's on. But first, we lose Izzy here, who came into the season someone I kind of remembered from Too Hot to Handle. On this season, she had a memorable start, hooking up with Rogan of all people, which was hard to watch and not something I wanted to see. When he leaves, she just becomes Olivia's minion, and that's pretty much all she has going on. She was a rat against the other rookies, and they were so over her, just flung her into elimination. I'm left not really caring if she comes back for another run, though I feel she had more potential than what she gave here. Teams for this episode are Nani and young Cedric, Leo and Olivia, Anissa and Jake, CT and Michaela, America and Gabe, Derek C and Aviv, Justin and Ashley, Sydney and Jeremy, Derek K and Adrian, John A and Turbo, D and Theo, and Leroy and Tay. Partnerless Will is the hangnail this week and at risk for elimination. We learned last episode that soon they'll pick permanent partners for the rest of the game. Players with the most points will have top priority for the pick, so this is some serious stuff. Nani and Ashley are cheering and twerking to celebrate Izzy's elimination, which agitates Olivia and Theo. Theo says it's an upstairs versus downstairs alliance, but it's not all the upstairs people, not all the downstairs people, which was a messy way to explain what's going on. Janae only has 1 point, so she knows she's going to be relying on social game. Dee and Will continue to have drama. Will is pissed that Dee voted his partner Izzy in last week, which leads to him being the hangnail now. They say they're good, but are they really good? Turbo is also pissed at Derek C for the exact same reason. Derek voted for his partner, but these two are far less good. Turbo brings other names into it, saying CT, Theo, and Leroy are awful competitors, and Turbo gives Derek C a new nickname, FF, which stands for fake as f. The next day, Theo gets his knee injury checked out by the doctor. Results inconclusive for now. If he goes to Naya's doctor for an MRI, maybe he'll have results by the time of the final. Players are stressing and probably over-strategizing about partner selection. Nani thinks Olivia's overconfident, saying Olivia thinks everyone wants to be her partner, which makes Nani resent Olivia. They head to their daily challenge, knowing it's a guy's elimination day. Finding out it's heights over water, Anissa says this isn't a thicktivity. I love that. Watching this show is a thicktivity, and I'm great at it. TJ tells Theo he can't compete in this challenge until he gets an MRI, so now Will is not the hangnail anymore and will replace Theo as Dee's partner. Theo is now the hangnail. They're just making up whatever rules at this point. They'll be playing Cyclone. Players will have to carry 5 blocks up a rotating wall, then swim back to their platform. If they fall off the wall, their score is however many blocks they've gotten to the top. The team that gets the most blocks in the fastest time will win the daily. 4 teams will go at a time. Dee calls this challenge Justice for Lekka, as CT yet again has to climb, and now his life is at risk. Oop, she said the thing. This challenge looks really hard. Climbing up this wall is really not a thicktivity. Justin does really well at this at first, a great partner for Ashley, who for once isn't blowing her top during the daily. He even drops a block and falls off the wall, and she's supportive. She also falls and they only get 1 block. Derek C falls, leaving Aviv to fight by herself, but then Leroy and Tay both fall with 0 blocks scored. From that point on, players know they just need to score 1 block to the top to be safe from last. Jeremy and Sydney are both very confident as usual. They're crushing this challenge. Sydney falls with a block. Other players start falling too, having all gotten 1 block, knowing they're safe. Jeremy gets 4 blocks, which puts Jeremy and Sydney in the lead of the daily. In the final heat, players get to spectate CT, noticing that now he can climb and isn't scared to try. Turbo sees CT climbing faster than anybody, but CT does fall off the wall, and his partner Michaela sees this as an opportunity. Michaela has enough points. She's number 1 in the house by a lot, so she drops as all of the players chant Justice for Lekka on the sidelines. CT tries to pull Michaela through the water. She tells him to stop, which makes other players again be offended by CT. In the results, Sydney and Jeremy are the clear winners of this daily, and Michaela and CT were dead last in the challenge, so CT is going into elimination. Jeremy and Sydney get 8 points and get to select one team to face Theo in the house vote. They head back to the house. Sydney is sure that they're going to choose a vet as their nominee to ensure a vet man goes home. Theo heads off to get his MRI from Dr. Slow as Hell and Associates. Dee is worried that she'll get stuck with Theo as a partner because of his knee. Aviv reminds Dee that most of the vets have messed up limbs, which is pretty true. But who cares about that? Players are going to the club for some champagne and twerking. Derek K is worried that he'll be going into elimination against CT, but Sydney gives him some reassurance it won't be him. Derek C is also worried. He's an option for the winners because he's come for rookies in the past. Back at the house, Olivia breaks down because the guys are saying they don't want to be her partner. Her boyfriend might go home. Her friend Derek C might go home. The next day, Turbo encourages Nani and Will to have babies, and both Dereks continue to be nervous. Players head to nominations where TJ tells the group that Theo's been cleared to compete. Interesting that Theo got his clear results at nominations, but Naya conveniently didn't get hers until elimination. Sydney and Jeremy decide to nominate Derek C to face the house vote against Theo. Players start to vote, and votes pour in for Derek C, with Justice for Lekka continuing to be the theme of this episode. Janae gives a vote for Theo to support her friend Derek, but the rest of the votes are for Derek. So Derek C and CT will face off in elimination. Turbo is popping his popcorn already. They head to elimination where CT and Derek will be playing pole wrestle. They'll face off trying to get the pole from their partner. The first player to steal the pole twice will win the elimination. They get started. CT's throwing his weight on Derek. Derek's trying to thrash his way out of it. For some reason, TJ is breathing down their necks in the ring. CT picks Derek up, slams him into the ground, and CT pulls out the pole, getting the first point. The second round starts with CT flinging Derek. Derek tells us he feels like a dog's chew toy, and his strategy is to not die. CT gets the second point and wins the elimination, sending Derek out of the game. TJ then tells the group they're not picking partners now, and they're going to have an individual challenge tomorrow. More new rules. So we lose Derek here, who came into the season after such a positive, incredible run on season 40. He's still in great shape and performs well in challenges, but the season starts with him making that promise to Justin and screwing him over, which seemed a bit heartless and made the rookies dislike like him for the rest of the season. I'm surprised to see someone who's usually so beloved be so turned on by the house, to the extent that he was voted in near unanimously, and many were even cheering about him going into elimination and not caring that he went home. He could come back from this and have a better season if he returns, but it seems like the show is growing. These rookies are not going to be pushed around, and they're pushing these vets off the show without a care of what they've done in the past. Players celebrate CT's elimination win, but the house is still pretty resentful of CT and blaming him for Lekka's elimination. Last week, TJ told them that this week's challenge will have a major impact on the game, as they'll be picking their partners for the rest of the season at the end of this round. The rookie girls all want Turbo, especially Adrienne and Sydney. Nany and Will are still getting freaky. Nany gets her nut from the pool to the bedroom to the bathroom. These two have a whole routine, and they want to partner up so they can keep this nut train rolling. Anissa tells Ashley she wants to come in first in the challenge, which Ashley laughs off, both to Anissa's face and behind her back. Anissa confronts Ashley. Ashley calls Anissa delusional. Jake comes to Anissa's defense, but Anissa doesn't need him. These two just end up fighting. As usual, Ashley says she'll knock Anissa out. Anissa calls Ashley trash. Ashley says the bigger they are, the harder they fall. You know, I didn't understand why Ashley and Anissa were rivals at the time, but from everything I've seen since then, I get it. They hate each other. Turbo wants to make an alliance with Cedric and Jeremy, saying he wants to work with the strongest, and using this as an opportunity to take a dig at CT. They head to their daily and individual challenge, the mini final, where the top 8 finishers for the men and women will be getting points. They'll be playing Broken Dreams, running up a mountain and completing checkpoints, memorizing equations, eating gross stuff, and doing puzzles along the way. I was worried this would be a purge challenge, but it's pretty straightforward, just playing for points. They get started memorizing their symbols as they run up the mountain. It's funny when Aviv says a symbol looks like Derek's hair, and they all start calling it that. The symbols turn into an equation that unlocks onion, peppers, and garlic that they need to eat. Adrienne says her strategy is to pretend she's Shrek and eat the onion like an apple. Players struggle to eat their onions, but CT Tony times it, gobbling down his veggies. Nom nom nom. Turbo gets to a lead, finishing the 3rd checkpoint before anyone else even gets there. Back at the eating checkpoint, players discover peppers and onions in the bushes. Someone cheated, and it wasn't Big Brother's Vince for once. At this point, the challenge is a mess. There's a whole vegetable patch of evidence. The fair players are pissed and still eating. We need to conduct a formal investigation. Johnny decides to chuck her vegetable too, which inspires Anissa and Tay to follow suit, deciding they'll take the same penalty as everyone else. Turbo gets stuck on a word puzzle, and Sydney helps him to solve it. She also lies to Theo when he asks her for help. Ashley's struggling, wailing that she's getting in the ass with no lube. America is really going through it, sadly nibbling on her onion, but not giving up, and not cheating. Turbo finishes the mini final first overall, followed by Sydney. They celebrate together. Players trickle in, with Leroy and America finishing last for their respective groups. In the results, right away TJ is pissed, saying the one thing he hates more than quitters are cheaters. And there's massive evidence of cheating, with clips of multiple players throwing their vegetables into the bushes and taking bites and spitting them right out. Asking the group, does anyone want to confess? Ooh, he said the thing, and he's mad. TJ says, as a result, the whole day's events are for nothing, and they'll all just have the points they came in with. This was a BS ruling. They should have disqualified the cheaters and made anyone who played the fair way get points. This was a waste of time for us. Back at the house, Janae is spiraling about throwing her food in the challenge. I don't know why Janae is acting like this. She only cheated because she saw that other people did. Sydney even admits to cheating in confessional. Where is the punishment? In fact, they're rewarded with dinner and champagne toast. At dinner, Will is pissed off at the cheaters, throwing a tantrum that ruins everyone's meal. Nany seems to be getting the ick at this time. The next day, players strategize and court partners. CT and Tay want to work together. After Will's blow up at dinner, Nany asks Justin to pick her. None of the guys want to team up with Janae. Later, Will is still mad and complaining to Nany. Here she is once again, mothering a grown man. I feel for Nany. She is like a magnet for chaotic men. Olivia feels like Leo will be a smart partner for her, and both she and Nany campaign for Leo to pick them. Finally, they head to the selection, which really should have happened at the end of the last round, but whatever. Michaela has the most points overall, and she picks Cedric. Jeremy chooses Aviv. Olivia picks Will. This pick was wild after his behavior. Sydney chooses Turbo. Anissa picks Jake. Adrienne picks Theo. Justin chooses Nany. Leo picks Ashley. CT picks Tay. America chooses Leroy. D is with Derek. And Gabe and Janae, who weren't picked, are left with each other. TJ leaves off telling them that from now on, they'll be eliminated as pairs. Players head home in their new partnerships. Janae and Gabe have probably the worst chemistry. They really aren't feeling each other. Janae feels like Gabe is closed off and won't communicate with her. Olivia feels like her partner will keep her safe from the vet women targeting her because he's hooking up with Nany. Michaela tells us there's a war brewing. Oops, she said the thing. It's still the UK Alliance and Olivia against everyone else. To me, that war has been brewed for a while now. They're making little team names. We've got Tay, Janissa, Gane, Rhea. Ashley and Anissa are still beefing. Nany doesn't want to be in the middle of the drama. Similar to Olivia, Ashley feels like Leo will help her avoid being targeted. At their daily, TJ is tickled because they're playing trivia. In fast thinking, it's a cool looking setup. They'll be on stair climbers suspended over water, answering questions on their tablets. For every question they get wrong, their machine will go faster. When they fall off, they're out. The team with the most questions right in the end will win the daily. The first heat gets started with players from different teams scattered in it. CT's quickly struggling with his big feet on the little steps. They're not allowed to touch their stair climber, but CT continues to repeatedly put his hands on the stair climber. How many chances did they get? They should be eliminated the second they touch the machine. CT falls after one question, followed by Anissa, which makes Ashley happy. They're being asked tough questions, and players are falling left and right. No team gets more than 3 points in this heat. In round 2, Gabe is stomping on his machine, which annoys and distracts Michaela. Janae drops her iPad in the lake, so she cannot play on. Jeremy makes a deal with Michaela and drops, making Michaela the last player standing. In the third heat, Sydney's getting her questions right and complimenting herself as she goes. Tay is eliminated with 0 points. Young Cedric does a backflip, and Sydney keeps going until TJ is all out of questions in this round. In the results, Michaela and Cedric have the most points and win the daily. CT and Tay are the dead last losers, and will go straight into elimination. The rest of the players form the jury, and will vote one other team into elimination against them. Back at the house, players strategize. Michaela wants to keep weaker teams around to beat in eliminations when she's not safe. The Americans consider throwing Theo in against CT to take a shot at the UK alliance. But who cares about that? We're going to the club and twerking on each other. CT and Tay round up. Their plan is to get America and Leroy nominated to go against them. Olivia is trying to use Will because he and Nani are getting their nut, and Nani has a lot of friends. Anissa fills Janae in that she chose Olivia over the other vets, and she's still hurting about the fight with Ashley. Back at the house, Anissa's upset in the bathroom about Nani forgiving Ashley after their fight, and Nani goes off on Anissa in a very one-sided argument while Anissa is dressed like Blue's Clues. Nani is screaming about how she's too grown for that shit. Okay, Nani, she's too grown to work things out with Anissa, but not too grown to hook up in a bunk bed. Anissa packs her stuff and moves in with the other alliance. The next day, CT campaigns against Leroy and America. Nani and Ashley want to vote Theo and Adrian. Ashley and Leo have a very calm, collaborative discussion about their vote. Team Gane are not collaborating. Gabe does not want to hear anything Janae has to say. At nominations, TJ says the challenge winners don't get to vote. TJ also tells them that from now on, prior to the vote, if they want to change partners, they can stake their claim, challenging another player with the goal of stealing their partner. They'll face off in a competition with the player whose partner they're trying to steal. The winner keeps the partner. If you try to stake your claim and lose, you and your partner will go into elimination yourself. This was so confusing and seems like a logistical nightmare. Each team will only get one chance to stake their claim all season. TJ asks the group if anyone wants to stake their claim, and no one wants to do it right now. They get to voting. CT's campaign wasn't that effective. The Americans are voting for Adrian and Theo, and the UK Alliance are voting for Dee and Derek. Leo and Ashley's collaboration stops here, with Leo being vocal that he's not happy with their vote for Adrian. Adrian tells him their friendship is over. Theo and Adrian get the most votes and will face off against CT and Tay in elimination. After the vote, Adrian tells Leo off, saying he let Ashley walk all over him and he's a stupid prick. They head to elimination where they're playing busting balls. One player will be blindfolded, operating the ball launcher. The other player will communicate with them, telling them how to aim the launcher to hit targets. The first team to get all of their targets, or the team with the most targets when they run out of balls, wins the elimination. CT wears the balls as breasts. Theo wears the balls as testicles. They get started launching their breasts and testicles at the targets. Theo helps Adrian get the first target, taking an early lead. CT and Tay get some momentum. They even tie it up and pull ahead by one, but they run out of balls. Now all they can do is watch as Theo and Adrian tie the game and hit a target with their last ball, winning the elimination. So we lose our rookie Tay, who exceeded my expectations. I thought she was going to get flung in eliminations, but she held her own, winning physical eliminations against Blue and Izzy, which impressed me. I'm still on the fence about her as a character, as I feel all she did was say all the girls are her best friends. I don't feel she contributed much to the story of the season. Ultimately, she didn't have much to do in this elimination, so it must suck to go out in something you're at your partner's mercy for, but I'm not that bothered since I wasn't rooting for her anyway. And CT, whose main story of the season was the Lekka situation, with him not being able to compete in that one challenge, which made nearly the whole house resent him. It's a bit jarring to see him, someone who's usually so respected, be so openly targeted and disrespected by the other players, with the girls not wanting to partner with him, which to some degree I can't be sympathetic towards him for, because he did the same thing to Big T when he didn't want to partner with her. It never seems like he really wanted to win this season. He also didn't have his usual spirit in general. We didn't get too much insight on that, but maybe he should have taken the season off. And after this and last season, if he does come back, I'd like to see him have a redemption arc and be a more competitive player. The episode starts in a spooky way, with Theo calling the eliminated players ghosts as everyone passes through CT's spirits. There's a 14-person super alliance of mostly Americans that are coming for the UK alliance, with Theo and Adrian, the clear targets, being a double UK team. The rookie men hold a funeral over CT's shorts. Rest in peace. Gabe is now living in a cursed bedroom. Ashley, Aviv, and Nani feel like they've got the game stitched up at this point, having the numbers to run the game, barring some funny business with burn votes and claim staking, partner stealing. For their daily, band together, they need to run out to get heavy items that have resistance bands on them. The heavier the items, the more resistance is in the bands. They need to collect enough bands to stabilize their pipe so one member can cross across the pipe and get their flag. Fastest team to complete this will be safe. Last place heads straight into elimination. They get started alternating between guys and girls to go out to get objects. Gabe and Johnny are, I guess, trying to work together. Leroy thinks he has an advantage because America is light. Aviv gets a heavy ass barrel that sets her behind. Dee and Nani make an attempt to get the flag. Nani takes a hard fall into shallow water, and Dee is first to get her flag, making she and Derek the daily winners. Other teams follow suit. This was a fun challenge to watch. Lately, the challenges have been a lot of bad camera work, which makes it hard to see what's going on most of the time. This was simple and a nice departure. Gabe makes an attempt and takes a hard fall. America impresses Leroy and herself. When she gets her flag, it all comes down to Gabe and Johnny, and Aviv and Jeremy, with Gabe and Jeremy racing out to get their flags. Well, slowly racing. Gabe pulls through in a hero moment, but still feels like he's dragging Johnny through the game. Jeremy and Aviv are in last place and are going straight into elimination. Back at the house, players strategize. The UK Alliance are trying to scrounge up some votes to protect themselves. Dee is trying to nominate Anissa and Jake to go against her friend Jeremy and get him to stay. Michaela hates Dee's plan. She wants the Americans to nominate Theo and Adrian again. Players are bringing the clip home for a couple's costume party. Dee and Derek, who is dressed to slay in the AI arena, are emceeing the group in hot topic questions. The disconnects between Gabe and Johnny continue. Theo plans to encourage Gabe to stake his claim so Theo can save himself from elimination. Theo tells us he's gonna go kamikaze against Johnny. Oop, he kind of said the thing. He tells Johnny that Gabe is playing messy, which activates Johnny against Gabe, and Theo and Olivia both encourage Gabe to stake his claim. At nominations, Gabe does choose to stake his claim. I'm excited we finally get to see how this plays out. He stakes his claim on Justin to steal Nani as a partner. Justin and Nani are both pissed, and this leads to a little tiff between Michaela and Theo. Gabe and Justin have to race up a mountain, complete a puzzle, and race back. If Gabe wins, he steals Nani as a partner, and if Justin wins, Gabe and Johnny will go into elimination. They get started while back at the house, players just sit there, waiting and fighting with each other. Theo says everyone's a pussy, which pisses Turbo off. Turbo does not like being included in the pussy bunch. And TJ reveals that Justin won the duel. Justin got his puzzle done first and whooped Gabe's ass, so Gabe has cemented his partnership with Johnny, and since he lost, Johnny and Gabe are going into elimination against Jeremy and Aviv. Later, the Americans tell Gabe that he made a dumb move and would have been safe this round had he not done that. They head to the arena where they'll be playing Pull It Together. One player will race up a cargo net to pull pegs out of the wall. The other player will have to climb up the wall, putting the pegs in their holes. They need to put all of the pegs in and hit the button at the top of the wall. The first team to complete this will win the elimination. They get started with Aviv and Johnny on the cargo net. They're neck and neck with Aviv to a slight lead, but their pace doesn't really matter because the men are working on putting the pegs in as they're going, and the pegs are all over the floor, so this elimination all comes down to the men, and it was not suspenseful at all. Jeremy is kicking Gabe's ass by a lot for a long time, and unsurprisingly, Jeremy and Aviv win the elimination, sending Johnny and Gabe home. So we say goodbye to these players, starting with Johnny, who came into the game late. In my opinion, she should have been on the main cast instead of Kara in the first place, all things considered. Through just starting late, she was pretty screwed, both in that she had no points and that half the cast seemed to have no interest in getting to know her, which put her on the outs. She ends up partnered with Gabe, who I'll talk about, but he's the reason that she's in this elimination, and he ultimately cost them the game. While there's little for her to take accountability for, she was not winning this season, even if she started day one, with any partner, so going out this way where she can pass the blame off on somebody was probably best case scenario. And Gabe, the person we're putting the blame on, who was very physically fit, he beat Bananas in a very physical elimination, but he's just so bad at the game, starting with the very beginning, not being able to get on the same page as the other rookies, which annoyed them. He just has such bad reads. His biggest failure was being unable to get along with partners, starting with Naya, who he ragged on and made himself look bad, and then Johnny, same thing, and that inability to work with a partner was what cost him in the end. He got bamboozled into throwing himself into elimination, with the other players exploiting his resentment for his partners. While I'm not a big fan of his as a character, I would like to see him again on the show. It's fun to see messy instigators and illogical players in the game. Players get back to the house and celebrate Aviv and Jeremy's win. The Americans remain aligned against what Jeremy calls Olivia's Mafia, which is Olivia, Anissa, and the UK players. Everyone's still talking about the drama at the previous nominations. When Turbo was offended that he was called a pussy, Theo is fired up against Turbo and wants to get Turbo out of the game. As players head to the daily challenge, Turbo tells us that Theo is a pussy chicken. This challenge is basically a commercial for a movie called The Running Man, with a message from Glenn Powell where Glenn describes the movie. The description of this movie made it seem watchable, but I bet I'm gonna watch it and hate it. In the challenge, TJ's gonna throw a bunch of keys on the floor. Each key unlocks a container, so they need to run around to find the container that matches the key they pick up, then undo the chains and ropes around the container to release a car. Then they have to use tools to remove the car's hood, find their tracking device, and drop it in TJ's basket. The first team to complete this will win the daily, and last place goes straight into elimination. Ashley is very horny for Glenn Powell. They get started. Leroy's pushing himself so he can push push America to do more. Olivia and Will are struggling to communicate. Will feels like he's doing all the work. Aviv and Jeremy are first to open their container. Nani and Justin don't know how to drive the car, so they push it. Same for Turbo and Sydney. Aviv and Jeremy find their tracking device and lock in as the daily winners, and other teams trickle in. Theo gets to the finish line without Adrian, but Adrian's coming. But Michaela calls Theo cheatin' Theo, which offends Olivia. So Michaela says she's gonna punch Olivia in the face, and Michaela said the thing yet again, but that escalated quickly. The bottom two teams are Leo and Ashley and Dee and Derek, but in the end, Dee and Derek are the dead last losers, and will go straight into elimination. The players in the middle will form the jury, and will vote one of themselves into elimination to face them. Back at the house, Olivia calls Michaela a bully, and Michaela stands by what she said. She just doesn't like Theo and Olivia, and that's that, Pat. Dee and Derek want Theo and Adrian as their opponent. At this point, Theo is accepting his fate as a nominee. He's confident he could win the elimination. The Americans plan to make a decoy plot, telling the house that they're all voting for Anissa and Jake to prevent Theo from staking his claim and trying to save himself. But who cares about this? Players are going to the club to twerk on each other. Leo tells Adrian that he supports her and encourages her to stake a claim, but Adrian says Leo is being puppeted by Ashley and calls him a little bitch. Sydney is worried that Adrian is gonna try to steal Turbo from her. She's disgusted. Turbo is down to play dirty and trick Theo, calling their plan Karma Sutra 69. Operation Karma Sutra 69 continues with Leroy lying to everyone, saying they're targeting Anissa and Jake. The next day, Leroy tells Anissa that he's voting for her, with Olivia, Theo, and Adrian eavesdropping through the wall, falling victim to the plan. They feel so safe. Anissa feels betrayed and reports this back to the eavesdroppers. So players head to nominations where no one steps up to stake their claim. Leroy tells us he was Denzel Washington with his acting. They get to the vote where the Americans vote for Theo and Adrian, tricking them and making them feel really dumb. The UK alliance votes for Leroy and America, but by a vote of 5-3, Theo and Adrian are voted in. Later, Olivia and Theo are kind of making fun of the Americans, saying, ooh, they thought they were so slick. But they were so slick, they totally fooled you. Anissa feels dogged by Leroy, but she understands that he wants to win for his kids. She even admits that she wants to be more cutthroat, which I do agree is a big part of what Anissa's game is missing. Getting ready for elimination, Dee admits in confessional that she has a crush on Turbo, which was so random. In elimination, they'll be playing Bad Dreams. Players will sit on beams facing each other, hitting the other team with what TJ calls weapons, until both players on the opposing team fall or drop their weapon. Both players on the other team need to fall to win a point for the round. Best of 5 rounds wins elimination. The weapon is a pillow. It's basically a pillow fight. In round 1, Theo mollywops Derek so hard he instantly falls, but Dee beats Adrian, making round 1 a draw. And the next 4 rounds are pretty much the same thing. Derek instantly falling and Dee not falling and making it a draw. So they get through the 5 rounds without either team scoring a point. This whole elimination was just a bad idea. And this goes to a tiebreaker where TJ will flip a coin to decide if it's guys or girls fighting. They'll do one more round, this time standing on the beam. All 5 rounds should have been standing on the beam, alternating guys and girls. So it ends up being a sudden death round between Theo and Derek. They really draw out the suspense as the guys slowly get on the balance beam, but in one hit, Derek goes flying into the mud. Ashley confesses to us that this is giving her the ick and Derek should hang up his jersey. Theo and Adrian win the elimination and Theo calls everyone pussies, which of course sets off Turbo and leads to a fight where Theo calls Turbo a traitor and a liar. I'm sure this fight will continue into next week. So we say goodbye to these players, starting with Derek, who I've given a hard time the last few seasons, feeling like he was selfish to stay in the game with his leg injury on season 40. And I feel like it was selfish for him to come back so soon, still at times dealing with this injury in this season, especially on a season that was so partner based. And he's not always a good partner in general, injury aside, where he cost both Blue and Dee their opportunities on their rookie seasons. While I rag on him, he did win one daily. It's not like he's an absolutely terrible competitor. My biggest issue is he really doesn't bring anything to the story of the show. There's no good drama. I forget that he's there half the time, and I think Ashley's right. It's time to hang up the jersey. And Dee, who I had high hopes for, with her being on my wish list to be on the show following her performance on Survivor. For a rookie season, she did an amazing job. She won 2 dailies, made alliances, made a pretty deep run into the game. She was even in some messy drama with her quickly getting into a showmance with Bananas after having a hotel romp with Will. Now she has a crush on Turbo. There's a lot going on with that, but I still feel I enjoyed her more on Survivor. I found her pretty reserved in her gameplay and her confessionals, which confuses me because her behavior was spicy, but her personality was so serious. But she's a great competitor. She ultimately wasn't at fault in this elimination, didn't lose a single round, and she definitely deserves another chance. Back at the house, Adrian and Theo celebrate their second elimination win, realizing that their alliance's path to the final is through the huge American alliance. Young Cedric tells us he's playing a dangerous game, riding the middle, and does a really impressive impersonation of Derek getting flung to Kingdom Come by Theo. America is annoyed that Theo and Adrian survived. She feels happy and hopeful about her partnership with Leroy. The next day, young Cedric is getting a very sensual massage from the vet women, who seem to be half joking about being his sexy mommies. Players get to FaceTime with an appearance from America's boo Corey, who tells her she she succeeded no matter what. Leroy sees Cam and the kids. Justin sees his mom. Olivia talks to Ryan, sharing that she and Will are on different sides of the house, and she's not sure if they'll be able to work together. The Americans encourage Will to stake a claim, to split up with Olivia while he still can. Heading to the daily, Michaela tells us that Theo and Adrian are like cockroaches. And what do you know, Michaela said the thing yet again. They'll be playing Haystack Heist. Teams will each have a treasure chest buried in hay bales. They'll be tethered together, having to stack the hay bales, to climb up 2 separate poles, and get 2 keys to unlock their chests. The first team to complete this will be safe, and last place will go straight into elimination. They get started, smack talking each other as they move their little haze. Teams that can carry 3 at a time think they're getting to an early lead, but are slowed down by the heavy weight. America can't even carry 1. Personally, I can carry 4. Jake concocts a scheme to psych the other teams out by going to a different key than everyone else. Michaela twists her ankle on the hay, but she hides her injury from the group. America does learn to carry her hay on her back, like a Johnny Bananas backpack. Theo is way taller than everyone, so he's able to easily get the first key. Turbo and Sydney and Jeremy and Aviv are struggling, showing the other teams that they aren't unbeatable. Will is getting frustrated with Olivia not keeping up with him, so Olivia calls Will an asshole in confessional. After Nani and Justin smartly stack their hay, Justin makes an impressive leap up the hay bales, getting the second key and securing a daily win for he and Nani. With cockroaches Theo and Adrian coming in second, Adrian feels like they would have won if Theo listened to her. Leo loves when Ashley pushes his booty and makes him fly to the key. Other teams start finishing, with Will really upset with Olivia when they have a low placement. The bottom 2 are Turbo and Sydney and Leroy and America. Sydney is offended to be on the same level as Leroy and America. And Sydney can talk her shit all she wants, but Turbo and Sydney beat America and Leroy by mere seconds, making Leroy and America the daily losers, going straight into elimination. Back at the house, Aviv and Jeremy worry that Sydney is getting dragged down by Turbo. Will continues to complain about Olivia's capabilities and personality. Michaela is liking keeping Sydney and Turbo around as a target, and is still dead set on targeting Olivia and the UK alliance. But honestly, who cares about any of this? Players are going to the club where nogging is in, and when America is done gyrating, Leroy showers her with praise, encouraging her as his partner. Leo and Jake are besties and blooming allies, but Jake needs Leo to get his partner Ashley on their side to swing the vote and send Sydney and Turbo into elimination. Leo agrees that they need to take this shot. Shockingly, Turbo is annoyed with something. Now he's annoyed that no one supported them when they were in the bottom 2. Boo hoo hoo. Jeremy bonds with Cedric, saying that he, Cedric, and Will should stick together because they're all former Marines. Cedric tells us he does not feel loyal to Jeremy at all. Back at the house, the UK alliance hate on Will, calling him a grumpy, angry individual. Olivia is considering staking a claim to ditch Will and steal Leo from Ashley. Elsewhere, the Americans say Theo has gotten weird since he met Olivia, and Ashley does a whole skit acting like a grandma that gets everyone pissing themselves. At nominations, it's raining, so they're cozy inside. No one ends up staking a claim this round, and they get to voting. Theo is in a hurry. He's got to get to the Lady Gaga Joanne tour after this, but he starts off voting for Turbo and Sydney, and the Americans strike back, voting Adrian and Theo. Leo lets Jake down when he and Ashley vote with the Americans, again making him look weak to the UK alliance. Turbo takes the time to flip Theo off and call him a pussy chicken. In the end, the Americans outnumber the vote again, sending Theo and Adrian back into elimination. For the elimination, they'll be playing Think-alike. There are 4 puzzles in the arena. Players will be on a rotating carousel. Each team has 2 puzzles they need to work together to complete as they stand on the carousel. The first team to complete both puzzles will win the elimination. They get started. This carousel is much faster than I expected. They can touch the puzzles for like 3 seconds at a time. Theo and Adrian are struggling to communicate at first, but they get one of their puzzles done, and then they're spinning and spinning. Nobody communicating well. TJ gets sick of it, telling them they'll get 1 minute at each station now. This gives America some time to quickly whip up a puzzle for their team, but Adrian finishes the second puzzle, which wins the elimination for Team Cockroach. So we say goodbye to this team, one of the more likable teams overall, starting with Leroy, who had a quiet edit through the season, there for some comedic relief at times, but for the most part, his game was going along with the vet girls' plans, which served him just fine. He's never voted into elimination. He was playing well, being safe for 12 weeks before falling into the bottom in the daily, though I feel the edit for this season was not at all telling the story of Leroy winning, where I would expect on whatever season Leroy wins, they'll talk about his kids and show pictures of his family in every single episode. So the fact that they barely gave him content made this elimination not a surprise to me at all. And America, who I loved on Big Brother, she's so underrated. I was thrilled to see her on my screen. It's wild to me that on her rookie season, she made it 13 episodes, greatly exceeding my expectations. We didn't see too much from her. There were confessionals here and there. She seemed well liked by everyone. You won't find people ragging on her in confessional, but she wasn't that involved in the story of the season. It seems like she was having more fun than was shown. We saw her making out with, I think, Dee on the bus in the super trailer, but we never saw that on the actual show, unless I'm wrong. On one hand, I could see her not being asked back, but I personally like her on the show and enjoy that she's kind of like a viewer who was plopped into the show, laughing at people when they're fighting and being surprised when she survives an episode. I like that kind of stuff. And I really liked this team together. Leroy was always supportive of America, and she tried her best. I'm gonna miss these sweeties. Players head back to the house, where Theo and Adrian are feeling themselves, and rightfully so. The small but mighty UK alliance of 3 teams have over time narrowed the huge American alliance down to 5 teams. Their plan is to target Turbo and strategically make sure they're all in the middle in the daily challenge so they all get to vote. Nani and Will are still getting their nut. Now they're in the gym. She tells him that he F's her like a man, but other than that, he's a big kid, and I'm holding back my lunch. Sydney continues to mope. She's upset that she and Turbo haven't been competing well in dailies. Turbo tries to cheer her up, giving her a pep talk, telling her how awesome she is, which seems like something that would cheer her up, and it does. Leo stays torn between the American alliance and his actual friendship with Jake. He seems down for the plan to target Turbo, but then again, he's let these UK players down a lot in the past. In their daily, they'll be playing Rune Race. Tied together, they need to memorize runes that correspond with numbers. Using the numbers, they'll solve an equation, which will be a code to a lockbox containing their underwater puzzle pieces. The first team to solve their puzzle on shore will be safe, and last place goes straight into elimination. They get started with Sydney struggling to memorize her symbols. They have to swim in this gross water to even make an attempt at their lock. Turbo is not feeling this cold water. As usual, Olivia and Will struggle to communicate. Justin and Nani get their puzzle pieces first. Cedric sees he's in second and tells us they have to boogie. Oop, young Cedric said the thing. These players are all over the place. Some players are solving their puzzle, some are still attempting their math. Cedric and Michaela do, in fact, boogie, winning the daily and safety. Will solves the math for their team, which leaves Ashley and Leo in last place, opening their lock but struggling to get their pieces out. All of the other teams complete their puzzles before Ashley and Leo get their pieces, making them last place in this daily and heading straight to elimination. Theo is thrilled. They're in a perfect situation where two American teams can't vote, giving them the opportunity to tie the vote. Ashley is happy she got to show other parts of her personality this season, but Anissa is ready for Ashley to get the hell out of there. Sydney continues to be annoyed, and she smack talks Theo for being blind in one eye, which I think is a bit below the belt. But who cares about me being offended? Players are going to the club, where this week they do not twerk on each other. They get straight to game talking. Leo is extremely confident that he'll be staying, which makes Olivia think Leo is arrogant. Ashley defends Leo, saying she likes his confidence. Players are all trying to swing votes to avoid a tie. Adrian is trying to get Aviv and Jeremy to flip, which is a waste of time. Aviv feels threatened by Adrian and claps back at her, condescendingly calling Adrian sweetheart. Aviv's getting spicy. The next day, Theo has a new plan to switch the UK Alliance's vote from Turbo and Sydney to Aviv and Jeremy and ask Turbo and Sydney to vote with them. Aviv pulls Anissa, confronting her, asking Anissa if she plans to vote for Aviv. Anissa gives a big guilty gulp and half-assedly lies to Aviv. At nominations, nobody decides to stake a claim. Before they vote, Theo stands up and tries to make a speech to get Turbo to flip his vote, but Turbo says he's absolutely not going to turn on his friends. Turbo and Nani both snap at Theo and threaten to vote for Olivia. But when they get to voting, the Americans do vote for Theo and Adrian, and the UK Alliance votes for Turbo and Sydney, which comes down to a tie vote and a coin flip from TJ. The victims of the coin flip are Turbo and Sydney, sending them into elimination and making it a perfect week of gameplay for Team UK. They celebrate and are so happy that Turbo's in elimination and that he's still not feeling well after being in the cold water. Nani confronts Theo. She's upset that he pulled the stunt at nominations and that he's messing with her relationship with Turbo. Nani also apologizes to Turbo, but he's cool with it. It didn't even really feel like Nani had much to really apologize for, so whatever. They head to elimination, where Ashley, Leo, Sydney, and Turbo will be playing Wait Me Up. One player is the runner. They'll race out of the arena. One at a time, they need to collect cannonballs, bringing the cannonballs back and putting them on a wheel that raises their partners up the wall. The partner on the wall is gathering puzzle pieces as they go. When they have all their pieces, they'll work together to solve a puzzle. They get started, and for the second week in a row, is an elimination where one person has to do pretty much all the work. The guys have to get a lot of cannonballs, while the girls are just hanging there. Leo is lapping Turbo. Ashley's trying to study the puzzle pieces. As she collects them, Leo finishes the cannonballs first, and Ashley joins him on the puzzle. She thinks she has it figured out, but she struggles, and Anissa is cheering Ashley on, which annoys Sydney. Eventually, Turbo figures the puzzle out, winning the elimination for Turbo and Sydney, and eliminating Ashley and Leo. So this ends Ashley's time on the challenge, who made her return to the main show, and I think she's still for the most part minding her P's and Q's and playing very nice in the game, which served her well. She was pretty insulated in the American Alliance and made connections that could help her on a return. She continues to have beef with Anissa, which is just a thing we have to deal with now, as these two will always hate each other, I guess. I find their fights to be entertaining. After their run on All-Stars 5, it's interesting to see Anissa outlasting Ashley, which also kind of ties up Anissa's main storyline this season. Ashley performed decently well in challenges, but had no patience for rookie partners, blowing up on a lot of her partners in dailies. In the end, she was confident she could solve this puzzle, but couldn't, and it was disappointing after her saying she was going to get it together several times in this episode. She wasn't able to. She's one of the better narrators in Confessional, so this was, in my opinion, a major loss for entertainment, and I always do want Ashley on my challenge casts. And this ends Leo's time on the challenge. A rookie I was really excited to see again after his run on Love Island, and he didn't quite live up to the level of entertainment that he was giving on Love Island. No freaky stuff, no love triangles, but we got to see a softer side to him, which was kind of nice, I guess. I'm happy that he performed well in challenges, winning 2 dailies and lasting way longer in the game than I thought he was going to. He gets a lot of flack from the UK players about him wanting to work with them but not wanting to go against Ashley, but It's a bit unfair to judge someone from not going against their partner, and their connections to both sides could have kept them safe had they continued to avoid the bottom. I want to see Leo on the show again, but I think he maxed out his potential for entertainment with this group of people. Back at the house, Nani gives Turbo huggies for winning the elimination. Sydney feels like the whole house wants she and Jeremy out of the game. Anissa and the UK Alliance continue to trash talk Ashley. Anissa reminds us that she's had a rough season dealing with the drama with the other vet women. The alliance numbers are tight, with 4 teams in the American Alliance and 3 teams in Olivia's UK army. Turbo suggests that the Americans let the UK Alliance win the daily since the winner can't vote, so they can vote a UK team into elimination. The next day, players get to FaceTime. I nearly fell out of my seat when I saw Jenna Compano pop up on my screen. Pregnant, probably parked right in front of her uncle's bakery. Jake calls his dad, who I think is a natural redhead. His parents blow out a candle for him. Tomorrow is his birthday. Theo gets to see his son. That's nice. They head to their daily. Dirty Drifter. Each team will have a driver trapped in a van, covered in chains. Their partner needs to untangle the chains and hook their van up to a big rig truck. The truck will then drag the van as the driver steers, trying to clear obstacles. For every obstacle they clear, they'll shave down some time. The team with the best time will be safe, and slowest goes straight into elimination. Justin and Nani go first. He's powering through but struggling with the heavy-ass chains. Nani gets to driving. This is pretty intense and probably terrifying. The van almost flips over, but Nani clears all but one obstacle. Will gets up there doing those chains. Nani is gooning on the sidelines. She asks for them to put this in slow motion, which they sadly do. Olivia gets to driving, and she quickly flips the van. Pregnant woman flips van. Jesus, take the wheel. Jake and Anissa have Anissa up there doing the chains. Jake says he wants to drive because he doesn't trust Anissa to do it. For a minute, Anissa looks really cool, until the show clowns on her, scoring her with silly music, and Justin makes comments about Anissa's ankle, but she finishes the chains. And after all that work, Jake doesn't follow the directions and completely messes up the drive. Anissa is way more understanding than I would be. I'd be pissed. We have Adrian taking up the chains. She's doing a great job, but Theo starts fiddling with the chains and trying to help Adrian, while TJ repeatedly yells at him to stop. TJ tells Theo after like 10 touches, if you do it one more time, you're DQ'd, and he touches the damn chain. So they do get DQ'd, and Adrian is pissed, but again, not as pissed as I would be. We montage through Aviv, Michaela, and Sydney all doing the chains, looking badass on the process. In the end, the top 2 teams are Justin and Nani, and Will and Olivia, with the winning team being Will and Olivia, who finally worked well together in a challenge that required no teamwork. And last place are Theo and Adrian, who are heading straight into elimination. TJ is still pissed at Theo, and he chastises the players for playing to be in the middle. TJ is always hating the players, not hating the game. Back at the house, the Americans are happy to have the voting advantage, with Anissa and Jake the most likely vote as the only option left from the UK Alliance. Anissa's plan is to flip the American votes to try to get the group to vote in Aviv and Jeremy instead. Jake tells us that not getting voted in would be the best birthday present, and oop, he said the thing, but who cares about Jake's birthday wish? Players are going to the club, where Jake does get served a decadent slice of rich chocolate cake. Remember when they would go to the club and drink Fireball? Jake tells us he's playing for his dog Lenny, who he uses to attract the yummy mummies. Theo and Adrian work it out. They're back on the same page and ready to work together. Aviv encourages Theo, which annoys Cedric and Michaela. They're tired of the fake behavior. Michaela wants Aviv out, and soon. Anissa tries to campaign for Nani's vote, but Nani's like, Anissa, come on. We haven't been working together, but Anissa still tries to guilt Nani into keeping her. Nani feels that Anissa's playing the victim and put herself in this position. So Anissa's not getting that vote. So this campaign is looking like a lost cause. Jeremy tells Sydney he's feeling paranoid. She encourages him to remind Cedric and Turbo that they made a final 3 alliance ahead of the vote. So they head to nominations, where yet again no one takes a claim. What a flop that's been. The votes go as expected. Everyone votes for Anissa and Jake, besides Anissa and Jake, who vote for Turbo and Sydney. Aviv is dressed as Jeeper Creeper's daughter, as she makes a speech that continues to ride the fence. So Anissa and Jake will face off against Theo and Adrian in the arena. Later, Aviv is crying hysterically, a little much for safe. Nominee Anissa coddles her. Even Aviv's friend Nani feels like Aviv is being fake. Michaela tells the other Americans that Aviv needs to retire. They head to elimination, where they'll be playing loose ends. Each team has a spool of electrical cables. It's pretty simple. They need to unspool the cables and wrap them around logs to plug them into their 3 inputs. The first team to plug them all in wins the elimination. They get started. A pretty fair matchup between these teams. I thought the spool would spin, but they need to throw the cables over the spool over and over, and they can get tangled. Aviv and Nani are cheering Anissa on from the sidelines. Anissa and Jake work well together, and Theo and Adrian a bit more messy, getting tangled up more, and Theo is gassing out at times. Adrian and Theo continue to miscommunicate. She gets mad and storms away, but Theo starts listening to Adrian, and they do start plugging in their cables, as Anissa and Jake seem to be stuck, and Theo and Adrian do eventually win this elimination. So this ends Jake's time on the challenge. Someone who I thought would do well. He was the forefront in a lot of the promo material, but he ended up being such wallpaper and irrelevant to the story of the season, besides being a member of the UK Alliance and being a loyal partner to to Anissa. In my opinion, too loyal. He should have staked his claim at some point and tried to go for a better partner. Throughout, he was saying that Anissa was the best partner in the game, and that's just not true. Like, come on now. I get that these Love Islanders have experience getting backlash for everything they do, but he was more focused on looking like the nice guy than being a competitive challenger. Ultimately, it was his screw up in the daily that nearly had them in dead last, and he got played out of the game, losing this elimination on his birthday, which must really suck. I wouldn't mind seeing him again. I think he's pleasant, and I'd rather him over someone who annoys me, but where's the entertainment? And this ends Anissa's time on the challenge. I'm impressed that she made it 15 episodes on such a competitive season. I have complicated feelings about Anissa because I used to be a rider for Anissa on early seasons, and I feel guilty and disloyal not standing her and rooting for her now. But the show doesn't even attempt to give us hope that she's gonna win. She had some story this season, falling out with the veteran women over her continued drama with Ashley, losing their loyalty in the game, and ending up putting herself in the UK alliance because she was so close to Olivia. But is she really so close to Olivia? I just don't understand why she can't just play a social game, float in the middle, and allow herself to get dragged to a final. There's no reason Anissa should ever be voted into elimination by her competitors. Even the other players acknowledge how stupid that was. But she really just played herself out of the game with her own poor strategy. In a post-ridiculousness world, I wish MTV would make a new show, like Traitors or Big Brother, where these popular characters can play a game that's not so athletic, so Anissa can move on to better things. Theo celebrates another elimination win with a bones jumping from Olivia. Adrian tells Theo he has to start listening to her in challenges since he screwed up the entire last episode for them and almost sent them home. Nani is struggling, and I don't really blame her. She's fresh off a huge breakup and has been keeping it pretty together, but she has hope that she and Justin are a good team who could win the season. Jeremy takes Sydney's advice from last week, reminding Cedric that they have an alliance, but Cedric thinks Jeremy is only coming to him because it's convenient and feels Jeremy is acting desperate. They head to their daily, where Justin also confesses to us that he wants Jeremy out before the final. They'll be playing Dark Mine. Each team will have 6 matches, heading into the Dark Mine where they'll hear voices saying numbers and use matches to find the numbers on their game board. If they run out of matches, they have to run out of the mine and get a new matchbook. The team with the most correct answers in the fastest time will win the daily. Last place will head into elimination. They head into the mines and they can't see anything, but even worse, we can't see anything. So they're lighting their matches and playing this bingo or whatever. Olivia and Will seem to be working together for once, and Sydney and Turbo start out struggling with language barrier coming into play. I'm gonna be honest, this was one of the most boring and hard to watch challenges in a while. You can't tell what they're doing. Sydney tells us she's identified patterns in the numbers and she's figured out the numbers are playing in a loop, so I guess if you pay attention while playing, you can find all the numbers and say you're done. Olivia and Will start to crack. They started good, but she's over him at this point. And of course, Theo has messed up his puzzle board. He decides not to tell Adrian to keep her from getting mad. In the dark, we hear a shuffle and a crack. Michaela has fallen and hurt her ankle. I really can't stress enough how boring watching people play bingo by matchlight in the dark is. Teams buzz in their final answers and times. In the results, Sydney and Turbo have the most right answers and win the daily and safety. In last place with the least correct are Cedric and Michaela, who still seems very hurt, limping back to the house. The middle 4 teams will vote one team to face them in elimination. Michaela tells us she's ready to take shots and send someone home who she doesn't want to face in a final. Michaela wants Aviv and Jeremy as an opponent, and the others, including Nani, seem down for it. When Theo finds out about this, he asks us, am I being bamboozled? And oop, he said the thing. Nani tearily confesses to Aviv that she's voting for Aviv because she and Jeremy are a threat. Aviv is understanding to Nani's face, but pissed in confessional because this is the show where people stop getting real and start being polite. Justin tells Sydney about their vote. Sydney's mostly bothered because Jeremy's her friend. Nani is stressed and continues to keep to herself, which is stressing Will out. Seems like Will likes Nani, and Nani likes winning the challenge. Turbo is very upset that Nani is voting for Aviv. He calls Nani dishonorable and says Nani will get her payback eventually. At this point, Jeremy is considering staking a claim to avoid elimination. At nominations, Jeremy does decide to stake a claim, choosing to try to steal Olivia. Olivia is very upset about this, but I don't understand her reaction. She hates Will as a partner, and Jeremy is a great partner. Jeremy tells us that CT gave him a pro tip that showing people he doesn't give an F will make people fear him and respect him, and this is his way of doing that. Nani is pissed at Aviv. She feels like she told Aviv in confidence as a friend that she was voting for her, and feels that Aviv used that information to warn Jeremy to stake the claim. Aviv denies it, but flashback tells us that's exactly what happened. Nani's also embarrassed because everyone feels like this is Nani's fault. And you know what? It is. Jeremy and Will do the same challenge as last time, racing up the hill, doing the puzzle, and racing back. While back at the house, Nani and Aviv continue to squabble. Eventually, it's revealed that Jeremy beat Will and has stolen Olivia as a partner. He and Olivia will be safe, and Jeremy is refusing to vote Aviv into elimination. They all vote. Theo and Adrian vote Aviv and Will, revealing that Nani cut a last-minute deal with Theo to keep each other safe. Will and Aviv don't know who to vote for, and as Nani continues to act cagey and not commit to keeping Will safe, Will decides to go with Aviv and vote for Nani and Justin. Then Nani and Justin vote for Will and Aviv, and Jeremy and Olivia Olivia vote Nani and Justin, tying the vote as Nani and Aviv and now Will continue to squabble. This tie leads to a coin toss, which decides that Will and Aviv will go into elimination against Michaela and Cedric. And you guessed it, more squabbling involving Nani in an argument where Nani pops off on Will, then says that Will has a scary dark side in confessional, which in the moment felt very pot kettle. This was a lot of information to fill Cedric and Michaela in on. They missed a lot. Heading to elimination, teams will be locked in an airplane toilet where they have 2 puzzles to solve. The first team to solve both puzzles wins. They get started with Cedric and Michaela splitting up the work, doing the puzzles separately. Aviv and Will are working together 1 puzzle at a time. Michaela thinks she finished the first one, but she forgot 2 pieces and hasn't realized. Michaela and Cedric solve their other puzzle and celebrate their win, but TJ tells them they're wrong, so they get back to work. Michaela then finds the 2 puzzle pieces she forgot, and Michaela and Cedric do figure it out and win the elimination. So this ends Will's time on the challenge, who had a rocky road through the season, starting at the hotel, where Dee got him all whipped apparently. Obviously he and Dee weren't on the same page, and seeing her hook up with Bananas drove him nuts. He's kind of valid in feeling jealous, that's part of life, but it's the drinking and the crazy angry reactions, the shaking, the punching glass, that would scare me if I were in the house. But as a viewer, he was very classic challenge in those moments. He then starts hooking up with Nani. It seems like he has very real feelings for the women he's hooking up with, but they're just using him as a piece of meat for Nani to use him to make herself feel better, then decide to vote him into elimination and villainize him in the situation and call him angry because of his behavior before they even started hooking up was kind of a low blow. He also had the story of being Olivia's annoying partner, with Olivia getting so agitated with him through the back half of the season. Like I said, I'm shocked that Olivia didn't celebrate getting rid of him. While I'm not a big Will fan by any means, I probably don't like him, I leave off being appreciative of the level of drama that he brings. He's a complex character that has good and bad qualities, and of the rookies, he's worth keeping around to make a good show. And this ends Aviv's time on the challenge. I wasn't that thrilled to see her on this cast. She felt like a random addition if you're not going to have all of Bananas Angels come back, but this season she performed better than last time, making it slightly further in the game, and winning a daily and an elimination. She consistently performed well in dailies and was a good partner who everyone wanted to work with. In the latter episodes, this narrative of Aviv being a game player and being fake, which bothered the other girls, came about, which I thought was some of the best entertainment coming from her that we've had. I like that she was taking a bit more control over the game, but overall I still find her to be extremely boring, and I only want to see her again on one condition, which is a team season where she's with Darrell the whole time. Other than that, when I say I'm good, I'm great. Back at the house, Cedric celebrates his first elimination win, but still feels like it's him and Michaela against everyone. Theo and Olivia are happy to have lasted this long, and Olivia finally realizes that she's happy that she got a good partner in Jeremy. Aviv left everyone goodbye notes, including an encouraging letter to Jeremy, which makes him feel better about ditching her as a partner. Will wrote Justin a letter that Nani reads first, where Will talks crap about Nani and accuses Justin on being in on Will's demise. Nani and Justin are both still annoyed that they were in the coin flip. Nani says she was using Will for sex and he needs to get over it, but in confessional, Nani says she genuinely cared for Will. Those stories don't quite add up. Justin thinks that Cedric and Michaela orchestrated the whole situation and insinuates that they're hypocritical for doing that and reading the Bible all day. But who cares about this? Players are going to the club. Well, I guess they care about this. This conversation continues at the club. Why even go to the club at this point? At least take a break to twerk on each other. Just once. Sydney tells Michaela that she and Cedric are taking the fall for the vote. Turbo gets annoyed with Sydney for getting involved in this situation. What else was Sydney supposed to do? Nobody's twerking? There's nothing else. Basically, Michaela and Cedric are denying that they requested Jeremy and Aviv as opponents last week, which they did request. This is infuriating Nani, who isn't even part of the conversation. She interjects herself, popping off on Michaela. Out of fairness to Nani, this is what happens when you're one of the only people drinking in the club while everyone else is eating. You can hear Nani shouting from space. Nani's now moved on to Cedric, angry with him for not warning Will that Jeremy was staking a claim. Everyone's now turning on Cedric and Michaela, with Sydney also calling them liars and hypocrites for reading their Bibles, and Jeremy says Cedric is a complete liar who can't be trusted at all. Nani shouts, "As long as you stand 10 toes down, I can run whatever you say to me." And oop, Nani said the thing, but she's just saying whatever at this point. I didn't like everyone piling on Cedric and Michaela, as you can see them both defending themselves at both sides, and the way the other players brought their religion into this was weird. Players head to their daily global exchange. Chained together, players will bike back and forth between their global maps, putting their labels on the countries that correspond, only able to transport one label at a time on their bikes. The team with the most correct answers will win the daily, and least correct head straight to elimination. Players get started with Cedric and Michaela getting to a quick lead, running to their map, despite Michaela's injury. To me, this challenge is ridiculously difficult. Knowing where 32 of these countries are on this map, bet it ain't me. Adrian takes a tumble off her bike, but she rallies. It's so embarrassing when the show expects the players to know where all these countries are, and then they spell New Zealand like this. In the end, the team with the most right answers, Turbo and Sydney, win the daily, with Sydney having carried the team in both the biking and the geography. The bottom two teams were Cedric and Michaela and Justin and Nani, but in the end, Cedric and Michaela have the least correct and will head straight into elimination against the house. house vote, which is definitely gonna be Nani and Justin, as 3 teams are voting and Theo and Olivia obviously won't vote for each other. They speed through the nomination vote, which could have been an email, as Nani and Justin get voted in predictably. Sydney and Turbo are annoyed that everyone's acting so happy, and Turbo is still agitated with Nani for making a deal with his nemesis Theo last week, but Turbo's still rooting for Nani to come back. Nani and Justin hype each other up with a montage of Nani losing the challenge. One thing about Nani, she wants to win that challenge. Cedric is hoping for a physical elimination so he can prove what he can do. So players head to the elimination, where they'll be playing what TJ calls Balls In 2.0. In each round, the guys and girls will all play a round of offense and defense. After each player plays both offense and defense, the team with the most points will score the round. The first team to win 2 rounds will win the elimination. They get started with the guys and girls both playing simultaneously on 2 separate goalposts. Michaela and Cedric take first offense and easily push Nani and Justin around, both scoring. Then Justin scores against Cedric, but Michaela flings Nani, giving Cedric and Michaela the point for the first round. In round 2, Michaela and Cedric again both score, and Justin and Nani are both unable to score, which wins the elimination for Cedric and Michaela, with TJ telling the remaining 4 teams that they've made it to the final. So this ends Justin's time on the challenge, who I'd predicted would be a lovable underdog, and he delivered on that. Even in the premiere, he had to deal with being voted into elimination, and with Derek promising him that he wouldn't vote him in and going back on it, which made it easy for the viewer to side with and root for Justin. He beats Rogan in a really tough elimination where he showed his athleticism from cheer, tumbling in the barrel, and he has a really great run this season, winning 2 dailies and a Stake Your Claim challenge. He was well liked by the other players and a great partner to work with, especially for Nani. This was a great rookie season for him. I'd love to see him become a regular on the show, and I'm sure it's likely, though I think it would be more entertaining to see him on a bit of a younger cast who are also messier. There's something we miss out on when these young kids are in the house with so many people in their 40s and 50s. It's like they're on vacation with their aunts and uncles, but I think if we give them more people their age to play with, they'll have more fun, and so will we. And this ends Nani's time on the challenge, who comes onto the season extremely fresh off a breakup, of an engagement no less, and while I give Nani a lot of crap about her being a hypocrite and acting very entitled at times, given the situation that she's in, she was a better person this season than I would have been. For the most part, she holds it together, doesn't lay around moping. She decides to get over Casey by getting under Will, which was fine by me. Do what you gotta do, girl. For most of the game, Nani's in the majority alliance, with the Americans getting a huge number advantage early. She stays out of elimination pretty much the whole game, in part due to challenge performance, winning 2 dailies along the way, and her social game, where of all the vets, she probably played the best actual game, but a series of unfortunate events, like outcomes of challenges where her allies came in first and couldn't vote, led to the dismantling of her alliance, and in the last few episodes, her side loses the numbers, and she sees what was once an easy glide to the final turn to what she can obviously tell is a higher and higher chance of her going home, and she becomes very angry, which wasn't cute, but I also can't blame her, as it was probably much easier to bottle up her emotions when she was cruising through the game and hooking up with an OnlyFans model. She continues to put herself out there and give real-world content season after season, so say what you want about Nani, but she clocks in and makes drama every time. Best case scenario for Nani in the future is if we can get a big team season where we can get a big team win of 4 or 5 winners, not 2, I think that would open the door for players like Nani to get their win, which would be satisfying as a viewer. This episode starts off ominously, with the final 4 teams looking miserable as they slowly ride on the bus to their final. Jeremy is still resentful of Cedric and Michaela for turning on him and continues to paint them out to be snakes. Sydney says she respects her other competitors and learned something from everyone besides Theo, so she's not worried about Theo and Adrian, but Theo thinks the rookies are naive and don't know what's coming. They're left stranded on a hill, awkwardly standing there as helicopters come to pick them up. I want to ride in a helicopter real bad. The helicopter takes them somewhere where they probably could have driven on the bus, and TJ's there, he probably walked there. In confessional, Olivia tells us she wants to use the money to start a family and buy a farm, and that Sydney has talked badly about everyone the whole time, and she insinuates that Turbo isn't a man of honor. Turbo tells us he wants to use the money to buy a home in America. In this economy, he's gonna need more money. They're in the Andes Mountains, where they'll be racing to complete checkpoints. Each checkpoint will give them a key to unlock their final chest. The first team to complete each checkpoint, get all of the keys, and unlock their box will win the $500,000 to split. They'll be tethered together the entire time, but sometimes not, inconsistent. Cedric and Michaela are really worried about Michaela's rolled ankle and need to be mindful of it throughout the final. They get started with their first checkpoint, River Run. They'll kayak down this river. This river is bumping. Along the way, they have to memorize the things that they see, so they're going down this river, going all kinds of sideways, but this looks really fun, and Olivia's Alaskan life experience helps her with the cold kayak. Cedric and Michaela fall out of their boat, get back in their boat, then have a really big flipperoonie that leaves Cedric in the water and Michaela fighting for her life on the kayak, but everyone survives the kayak, and they're tested on their memory of the order of things they saw on the river. Each wrong answer will give them a 2-minute time penalty. Olivia and Jeremy move on to the next checkpoint first, followed by Cedric and Michaela, Sydney and Turbo, and Theo and Adrian. Sydney is dragging Turbo along, despite Turbo repeatedly telling her he's in pain, with his legs legs hurting, and when Michaela has a little slip, Cedric lets her go slow to protect her ankle. Adrian is doing her best to coach Theo, who is struggling with the hiking. Turbo and Sydney are first to reach checkpoint 2, Rune Memory, where they need to try to get their puzzle to match TJ's without seeing his. As they go, he'll tell them how many they got right. Turbo insists to take control on this, which annoys Sydney. Elsewhere, Michaela takes another fall. What is going on with Michaela's ankles? Turbo does smash this memory puzzle though, allowing he and Sydney to move on before anyone else even gets there. They're followed by Olivia and Yarmi, Cedric and Michaela, and Adrian and Theo. Olivia reminds us she hasn't run a final since the golf ball incident, so hopefully her face can stay in one piece this time. For the next checkpoint, they have to rotate color blocks, so no colors are repeating in any row. Sydney and Turbo quickly complete this and move on, with Turbo continuing to complain about his legs. Olivia says Theo looks like a Walking Dead zombie as he lays on the ground and leaves Adrian to do the puzzle by herself. At checkpoint 4, Turbo and Sydney have to wait for another team to show up so they can face off. They're eventually joined by Olivia and Yarmi, facing off on stair climbers. The team who lasts the longest on their stair climber can move on in the helicopter. The losing team has to hang back and wait for the next face-off. Sydney lets Turbo drop out and takes the challenge on by herself. Olivia drops out too. In the end, Sydney beats Yarmi, letting she and Turbo move on, and Olivia and Yarmi now face Cedric and Michaela. Here, Yarmi and Michaela choose to sit out, and Olivia barely tries, deciding to conserve energy and let Cedric and Michaela advance ahead of them. So Yarmi and Olivia now face Theo and Adrian. Adrian kind of tries, but lets Olivia and Yarmi go ahead of them, so she and Theo can get some rest. Sydney and Turbo get to their final checkpoint of the day, where they have to basically just swim out for a key and swim back. Turbo lets Sydney do it for their team, as do Yarmi and Cedric, continuing the streak of the new threats, carrying all the weight for their teams. Theo is being a big baby about this swim, telling Adrian he's absolutely not doing it, and after some encouragement to stand up for herself from Turbo, Adrian stands her ground, saying she's not doing the swim either. But eventually, Adrian steps up and does do the swim, which made Theo look pathetic. Before they go to bed and end day 1, TJ shows up and asks if anyone would like to stake a claim and steal a partner, which we pick back up where we left off, TJ asking if anyone wants to stake a claim, and no one is down, just as I suspected. They're exhausted. Even if they wanted to, it's too much work. And they head to the overnight portion, where one player on each team gets to sleep in their tent, while the other player has to stand outside on a log. TJ says if the partner on the log falls asleep and falls off the log, they have to switch places. Falls asleep and falls off the log is crazy. In the end, they'll get some time to sleep. Teams that got to this checkpoint first get more time to sleep, with Theo and Adrian getting no time to sleep as punishment for being last to the checkpoint. So they get started standing on their logs. Adrian is talking everyone's ears off about being cheated on, which taught her forgiveness, spiders, and money laundering. Sydney comes out and pretty much forces Turbo to get off the stump to sleep, since he's the weaker link on their team. They make it through the night, and shockingly to nobody but TJ, no one falls asleep and falls off their log. In the morning, there's controversy about a rope that's supposed to keep them tethered. Cedric can't find his rope. He set his rope outside and someone took it, or it's missing. Theo has a confessional where he admits to picking up a rope and not knowing if the rope he took was his or not, but he thinks it was his. TJ tells them they'll be racing to the summit of the mountain, completing checkpoints along the way. The first team to the top will win the challenge. He also tells Cedric and Michaela they'll be penalized for not having their rope, with a 5-minute penalty, at which time they'll get a new rope. So everyone gets started, joined eventually by Cedric and Michaela. They see horses. Amazing. Turbo and Sydney are first to the first checkpoint, where they need to answer questions about their teammate. If they get the answers wrong, they have to run down to the crater and get a hint at one of the answers they got wrong. Sydney flies through this with a level of confidence that's consistent to Sydney, but Turbo's struggling with the questions. Theo also struggles with his Adrian knowledge, but Turbo and Sydney are first to complete this, followed by Olivia and Yarmi, Theo and Adrian, and Cedric and Michaela. No change in placement, but Cedric and Michaela make up some time. Adrian is struggling. She's got a blister and can't feel her legs. Theo is encouraging and patient, while Adrian is vomitous. At the next checkpoint, they have to wait for the next team to show up to play a game of Connect 4. The winner moves on, and the loser has to wait for the next team to play another game. Turbo and Sydney are joined by Olivia and Yarmi. Turbo saves Sydney from making a mistake and leads their team to a Connect 4 win that allows them to move on. Olivia and Yarmi are beaten by Theo and Adrian, and then Cedric and Michaela, leaving them in last place. They are devastated and have to wait there for 10 minutes before continuing, so they're far in last. But they come out of their penalty really pushing, with Yarmi motivating Olivia to a fast pace. Struggling Theo and Adrian take a break, which allows Cedric and Michaela, and then Olivia and Yarmi to pass them, leaving them in last as Adrian is dizzily stumbling. Yarmi is kind of dragging Olivia up this mountain. As they pass up Cedric and Michaela, Adrian can't take it anymore. She's not able to continue, curled up in a ball. The producer pretty much tells them they're so far from third place, they might as well just stop, so they stop here in fourth place. I'll talk about them later with the finalists. Michaela then collapses, getting some attention from the medic, but they keep going, though very far behind. Eventually, Olivia and Yarmi are right on Sydney and Turbo's tail, making up an absurd amount of ground. It's a slow foot race to the top, only 400 feet to go, but Turbo's losing his vision and struggling to walk as Olivia and Yarmi squeeze past them and make it to the top first. So Olivia and Yarmi Jeremy win first place and are our challenge champions, with Jeremy saying the money will change he and his mom's lives, and Turbo and Sydney lock in second place. Turbo is very upset about losing, but also he's unwell, getting helicoptered out in a stretcher, promising to return to the challenge, and Cedric and Michaela get to the end, locking in third place. The episode ends on a really positive note, with Olivia saying she's going to start her farm and her family, with flash forward to a few months later, where Olivia's pregnant with the baby boy who was just born a few days before this aired. What a happy ending. With that, let's talk about these finalists, starting with fourth placers, starting with Adrian, who comes into the season and quickly bonds with the other international players, which makes sense. I was worried for her when she got injured in the beginning after deciding to play with no shoesies, but she ends up safe for the first half of the season, watching her friends go until she gets partnered with Theo, which was a blessing and a curse. A blessing because it made her become more of a priority in Olivia's strategy, but a curse because Theo is such a pain in the ass. And they end up in 4 eliminations over the course of 6 weeks, but those eliminations made her look really good for the most part, winning them, but also starting the narrative that she was right and Theo wasn't listening, even through the final where she continues to outpace Theo in the first part, but she's not able to complete this final, and I don't blame her. This was really hard, and I'm confident if she keeps training and coming back, she'll be able to complete something like this, but I'd love to see her on the show again. She was there to compete, and I think she's capable of bringing a little more drama than we saw. And Theo, who seems to do a lousy job of staying in touch with people from the challenge on the off season, as other vets seem to have a lot of animosity towards him, leaving him on the outs with his UK alliance. I wonder if there would even be this world divide if Theo and Olivia weren't so far out of the loop, though maybe he made some new friends along the way this season. He wasn't the best in daily challenges. On Twitter, he blames an injury that just wasn't pointed out, but the show just made it seem like he was struggling. They also featured him being an awful partner to Adrian in the last few episodes, in eliminations especially, and forcing her to do the cold swim in the final, which was a low light from him for me. He could have focused more on their partnership, though in the end, they were going to get fourth place no matter what. I like following Theo and Olivia outside the show and think she brings out the best in him, and I enjoy the drama that he brings effortlessly, and wouldn't mind his return, but I'm not sure if I want it without Olivia there too. And our third placers splitting $25,000, Cedric, who coming from Big Brother, I was excited to see return. I think he's so fun, and for the most part he delivered. Anytime he's on camera, he's animated and lively, though I felt he was severely under-edited throughout the season. He's a great competitor, well-liked, played a good game. His partnership with Michaela was a good pairing. They flew under the radar and played the middle. They slipped through to the end game, and he carried their team in the final, where he was consistent and a great partner. With a different partner, he had a real shot to win this. He could have staked a claim, but I think after getting accused of being a snake at the club a few weeks ago, on his first season, it's not a good look to abandon Michaela in this last moment. As an investment in his own future on the show, it was a good idea to stick and keep pushing. He's someone I need to see back. I think he's down to be messy, but not many people there were down to be messy this season. I'd love for him to return on a more younger cast. And Michaela, who has her strongest run yet on any show, playing an under-the-radar game throughout. Through and through, she didn't have personal storyline, but had a lot to say about the game in confessional. Despite being low-key, she was a major driver of strategy, purposefully putting herself in the middle position and riding the American alliance, which was smart until the numbers dwindled down on the American side, which made players like Nani realize how they were playing, and the cast got so mad at Cedric and Michaela for playing the game well, and used them reading the Bible against them, which didn't seem very fair. She twists her ankle, which the producers continued to hammer us over the head with, editing in every time Michaela took a false step from that initial twist. It's like, we get it. She twisted her ankle, give it a rest. I'm happy she completed a final after not being able to complete her first. She's come a long way, and I truly think she's learned a lot of lessons from Cerie's mentorship on Game Changers. The show relied on her for narration in her confessionals and frequently used her quotes as episode titles. I think production loves her, and I expect to see her again, though I don't think she's lived up to the level of entertainment she brought on Survivor on the challenge yet. Our second place team splitting $50,000. We have Sydney, who has a great rookie season here, winning 4 dailies and 1 elimination. She has all this confidence and cockiness. If she had all that cockiness and then was a complete flop over and over, that would be kind of funny. At least she does own how great she is while she's kicking everyone's ass, which makes her a boss. But I found her to be so much more engaging and entertaining on Survivor, where her personality stood out in contrast to the kumbaya players over there. Here, she was all talking confessionals, referring to herself as a confessional gangsta, but she rarely made these cocky comments to the other players, which I think many of them would be shocked and annoyed about, and could cause some drama at the reunion. There's so much potential for her to be an instigator in the house, but she falls flat as a character here, gliding through the game, making friends, and through that, getting to the final with not too much story to talk about. In the end, she comes in close second. I feel we're never going to be able to hear the end of this about how she really should have won until she finally does win, which I do think will happen. And Turbo, whose season was pretty consistent with his other appearances. You can count on him to be good in challenges, winning 3 dailies, never falling into dead last in a daily, and winning the 1 elimination he was in, where he did all the work, so he makes his stats more impressive in this run. I'm of two minds about Turbo. Firstly, he does bring a hefty amount of drama to the season on a season that desperately needed drama, but on the other hand, it's always the same thing. It's either him getting upset at Nani or someone else for just playing the game and not seeming to understand the game, or maybe he only understands the game when it's in his favor, which makes him seem like a hypocrite, or he's calling the other guys names and then getting so offended the second someone calls him the same names. Again, hypocritical. In the end, he was a great partner to Sydney, pushing himself probably past his limit to get to the end. It was quite courteous of him to reach the end before getting airlifted to the hospital. I can see why he gets cast and why fans like him, as he's one of the only truly competitive players, but I'm so bored with him and I think I've seen enough. And our new champion, splitting $425,000, are Jeremy, who's definitely improved since his performance in the Amazing Race, in both placement and effectiveness in challenges, winning 2 dailies, his 1 elimination, and successfully staking a claim on Olivia. He was a great partner throughout, especially to Aviv. I was surprised when Olivia wasn't thrilled when he stole her from Will, who she hated and didn't work well with. He has some degree of story, joining the Jungleman Alliance with Lekka, Dee, and Sydney, who are probably the group I'd expect to see running things moving forward, should they be asked to return, and I don't see why they wouldn't be asked or actually return. Justice for Lekka gave him some motivation, and he was at times irritated, like when Cedric went back on his word, though we never got to see him lose his cool or have much drama in the house, which is a bummer. But in the end, he becomes the champ with a dominant performance, starting with him being the first person up the hill on day 1, ending with him being the first up the hill in the final. He promises us he'll be back. I believe him and I'm not mad. And Olivia, who has her strongest season yet, making her second final, though the first time she had Horacio as a partner and they had to fight through multiple eliminations. This time she's quickly on the outs, probably a mix of her not having many friends as her usual buddies weren't here with her, and her relationship with Theo, who wasn't very connected either, and ending up in the small UK alliance, which was always on the bottom, but Olivia was running that alliance like the Navy. I give her all the credit for that group being so tight and organized. Her confessionals throughout the season showed us she was in control and aware of the whole game, playing confidently like a vet, which impressed me. She competed well in challenges, winning 2 dailies and a physical elimination against D1 athlete Lekka. Watching this, knowing she was pregnant during the events was cool to see. I'm happy she finally got her challenge win after such hard work, giving her one of the more satisfying victories and character arcs over the last few seasons, where we watched her go through so many highs and lows over her run, and it's nice to see her have this really amazing story that would make her seasons an interesting rewatch on the binge. The reunion is hosted by ex-challenger and host of the Challenge podcast, Devin Simone, who looks stunning in green. Big upgrade from Maria Menounos, if you ask me. Enter the new threats and the vets. Everyone looks great. Johnny Bananas spanks his tush at the camera. And our champs, haircut Jeremy and very pregnant Olivia. First things first, congratulating Olivia on her baby, who ran the final. And the show gives them a little onesie that says Future Challenge Champ. We get a recap of the final, including Theo making Adrian do the swim, Cedric and Michaela's missing rope, Turbo's medevac, and of course Olivia and Jeremy's win. Olivia gets emotional, feeling like she had a lot to prove. Bananas gives Olivia props for fighting it out all season to get that win. No one is surprised that Jeremy won. It's revealed that TJ couldn't be standing at the finish line due to the altitude. On the rope, Cedric is still convinced that Theo took it, and there's no tea on who took the rope, which was very disappointing. Who took the rope? On doing the swim, Adrian says doing the swim was the best moment of the final for her, and Turbo continues to shade Theo for not helping her. We highlight the new threats, with Sydney saying that Leo was the glue holding the rookies together. Things get temporarily spicy when Izzy calls Sydney fake and a bitch, but Sydney agrees with her. CT says the best rookies were Sydney and Will. Let's touch on this Bananas-Olivia rivalry. They had beef from season 40, and Olivia got her revenge on Bananas. She's still giddy about it. Bananas basically says that Olivia has a one-sided issue with him, which everyone rolls their eyes at. Onto Bananas saying that he is the challenge. They do show of hands, and most of them agree that Bananas is the challenge. I'm not the biggest Banana fan, and I'll say Bananas is the challenge. Come on now. CT wants in on being the challenge, but Bananas isn't having it, but I also think CT is the challenge. CT gives Bananas a cactus as his flowers. They're doing a little game throughout this reunion called Hangnail, where one person at a time, they'll get a fan question and decide if they want to answer it or pass it off. Bananas is asked who there is least worthy of being asked back to the challenge. Bananas says Izzy, saying all she did was make out with Rogan, but I would say Aviv. Oop. On Will and Olivia's awful partnership, Olivia calls Will an asshole. Will says he carried the team, while Olivia took breaks to tie her shoe. Gabe owns up to being nasty to John A. She forgives him and is very understanding. Michaela and to some degree Lekka insinuate that Gabe is especially aggressive to women of color. He gets teary and apologizes, which gets a round of applause from the group. Sydney is talking about having to stroke Turbo's ego as his partner and make herself smaller for Turbo, which annoys Leo. It seems like Turbo had issues when Sydney socialized with other men. Turbo then says that Sydney always said the wrong things and needed to just shut up. Sydney alleges that Turbo also demanded that she stop talking to her boyfriend on the phone, saying when you call home and cry, you're a pussy. Turbo looks so bad during this, maybe the worst he's ever looked. The challengers gasped. It takes a lot to make a group of challengers gasp. Devin is trying to make a point about empowering women, but whoa mama, there's a spider on set, which interrupts Devin's message that she will never finish. Back to Gabe, who feels he was manipulated in the game when he was encouraged to stake a claim. Olivia and Theo own that that was part of their strategy. Michaela is particularly salty with Theo and Olivia for their game. But of all people, Michaela should understand gameplay. Aviv and Jeremy clarify that Jeremy didn't stake a claim because Nani told Aviv they were getting votes. Jeremy gives credit for that to Sydney for hyping him up to stake a claim. This topic, just like it did in the episode, turns into Nani and Will bickering, but apparently Will and Nani are cool and still talk and flirt, and that right before the reunion, they were about to hook up. Will says that Nani said they couldn't have sex because she was on her period. My god, that is too much information. I could have been a journalist. On the fight between Nani and Cedric and Michaela about who was at fault for Will's elimination, Nani owns that she was in the wrong in that blow up and that she was just out of pocket, hopping off on Cedric and Michaela at the club. Michaela and Olivia have a little beef. Olivia feels like Michaela is always in confessional, tearing Olivia down, and she calls out Michaela for making side comments throughout the reunion, calling Michaela a hater, to which Michaela calls Olivia irrelevant. Not a good read. Olivia is very relevant right now. Devin gets young Cedric in the hangnail, asks who's the most fake. Cedric calls out Derek C, but they laugh it off and Cedric doesn't have good reasons. On Turbo calling Derek C FF, fake as F, Turbo and Derek start going back and forth. On a side note, how has Derek not aged one day since 2009? Make it make sense. Nobody agrees with Turbo on his argument. Turbo tells Derek to shut up. Derek does not. A segment on Ashley screaming at her partners. This was just comedy. Thank God for Ashley for making the show entertaining. And another little skit from CT who does impressions. He puts on a wig and a pregnant belly, being Olivia, and his impression of D has a little accent, does a little dance. What are we doing here? On Turbo versus CT, Turbo pulls out flashcards to spell out for CT that he's a BITCH, which activates CT. He's mad, telling Turbo he better watch himself because he's basically about to square up. CT and Turbo are still telling each other to shut the F up, saying all kinds of D's and P's towards each other. Turbo basically says, catch me outside, how about that? These two are ready for their toxic rivals run. On Theo and Turbo's beef, Theo calls Turbo fake, and they start calling each other pussy. Turbo then pulls out a non-functioning microphone to say F you Theo and do a mic drop. Why? Michaela is asked by the fans, who acts tough on social media but not in person. Michaela passes it off to Ashley, who says Sydney and Derek C are both fake online, and they all laugh it off. Anissa and Ashley get started with Anissa proclaiming she was in the best shape of her life. Ashley's not buying it, saying Anissa can't run up a hill. Ashley calls Anissa a bad challenger and delusional. They get heated. Ashley says Anissa isn't in the best shape of her life, and she's not going to wake up one day and magically win the challenge. Oop. And Ashley alleges that Anissa befriended Ashley's stalker over email. On Anissa and Nani, they agreed that they're not friends, and Nani calls Anissa out, saying Anissa called Casey after she was eliminated and told Casey about Nani's hookups, which is really wrong, dang Anissa. Revisiting Derek C's broken promise to Justin, Derek defends himself but acknowledges that he betrayed Justin. Justin still feels Derek took it too far and doesn't want to play with or work with Derek ever again. And on the fight with Derek about BOGO drinks, Leo repays Derek with some moolah. The cast accuse Olivia of using Izzy as a minion, but Olivia defends that she and Olivia were friends and allies. Sydney makes Justin answer which vet needs to be sent to a retirement home. Justin says Anissa needs to go to the farm. Anissa replies that she'll need to be taken to the retirement home in a body bag. She's not giving up. Let's talk about hookups. Rogan cheated on his girlfriend with Izzy. Izzy says she was mad about it, but now maybe she could talk to him. D and Bananas, they're wishy-washy on whether or not they're still hooking up. Devin forces them to admit they still have a situationship. We are reminded about Will and Nani's hookup and Nani's earth-shattering orgasm. Nani unveils that she was also tempted by young Cedric. Now that would have been a good story for Anissa to tell Casey. Addressing the cheating with the onions in the mini-final, Janae reveals that she went back into the bushes and found a half-eaten onion to eat so she wouldn't be a cheater. D owns the cheating. Bananas dresses D as an onion as punishment. The players joke and laugh about the cheating. I don't think this is funny. I cannot with the cheating. Even TJ pops on the screen to joke about the cheating. He's gone soft. TJ calls Sydney the MVP for the newbies, and he crowns Olivia and Jeremy as champions via Zoom, which is so 2020 coded. Revisiting justice for Lekka, the group doesn't think CT threw the challenge anymore, but Turbo feels CT disrespected the group, showing up in bad shape, and CT agrees and apologizes to Lekka and the group, committing to come back in better shape, which it seems he is already. Answering a fan question, Gabe calls Theo the most overrated player for being asthmatic. Derek C kindly shares that he pooped off a cliff during the Day Zero challenge. Michaela tries to explain herself, saying she'd punch Olivia in the face. Olivia says Michaela was always making comments and talking shit about her. Michaela says she apologized to Olivia in the past, and she fears being portrayed as an angry black woman, so Olivia accepts the apology and we move on. There's a cute little montage of the vets' first challenges. I love that kind of stuff. Makes me want to break out my P+ and rewatch some good seasons. So that concludes a decently polarizing season of the challenge. With MTV itself on thin ice and the ratings of the challenge plummeting, the show should consider making hard pivots to revitalize the show and bring it back to its heart, but also make something fresh that can draw in new viewers. Things I like that they should keep. One of the best parts of this season were there were two likable winners, both fairly recent additions to the cast. I also felt the lineup of rookies for the most part were a strong group and shows they're capable of finding new interesting people. They continue to pick stunning locations and houses for them to stay at, and the daily challenges continue to be well planned and safe. Things I'd fix, starting with casting, the reliance on some of these older characters, some of whom are injured or out of shape, feels like they're casting from a place of weakness and lack of confidence. Also, vet players who are married with kids with happy lives are less likely to give us drama like drunken hookups and fights. I don't mind that we cast vets, but let's lean more toward the vets who are going to be able to have some kind of social storyline for us to follow and create that feeling that the show is like a soap opera where we're tracking people's relationships, their friendships, fights and makeups, their mistakes, their reinvention, which was such a big part of what made the show more fun to watch season over season in the past. While I think the daily challenges are safe physically, I do question whether they're fair, as it was clear that the show has gone soft on cheating, allowing half the cast to cheat in the mini final with no repercussion and no reward for the players who played fair, then allowing them to clown in production's face, laughing about it at the reunion, and the decision about Cedric and Michaela's rope, punishing them with no evidence that they did anything wrong. I'm just left questioning the production's decision making in general, which leaves me feeling icky. Finally, these episodes don't need to be 90 minutes. The only reason they're extended is to show us more ads. Comparing this season to the modern 60-minute episodes of Rivals 5, I don't feel we get any more content per episode. I actually feel there was more content in the Rivals episodes. Please, just edit it down to 60 minutes. We are very busy. Additional content would be nice as web content and secret scenes, which we get none of from this program, but back in the day, they were very generous with sometimes very scandalous web content. It's crazy to me that they choose to show this program at the same time as Big Brother in the summer and Survivor in the fall, especially when they cast players from both of those shows. It's just plain rude to the viewers. Let's move the challenge to maybe Tuesday nights when there are no competition shows on TV, or even just move it right to Paramount Plus for a Wednesday morning release. And I can't tell you how many comments I get of people complaining that they missed the show and can't find where to watch it, or complaining that the current season isn't aired on Paramount Plus at all. I really don't understand why the episodes aren't streaming on Paramount Plus if Paramount owns MTV, but maybe I'm just silly. But that's all I have to say about this season. Let me know what you think of the season in the comments. If you like this video, consider liking and subscribing. You can follow me on Instagram at ChenZitagram to get updates on me and my dog. I'll be back in the future with more challenge content. Until then, you know where to find me. Bye.